This is the craziest story of somebody who started their own VTuber agency and it absolutely blew up in their face and impacted so many talented creators, artists, editors, and this person is not taking any accountability. So for some backstory, all of this involves this VTuber agency by the name of VirtuX or VirtuX VE. So they are a VTuber talent agency that debuted around January 2024. They are a Canadian company that was started by this other creator by the name of Ray Flynn, who I'll be referring to as Ray throughout this video. They were promising a lot of stuff to their talents, like talent management, editing, professional marketing and exposure, stream assets, models and rigging, model add-ons, equipment upgrades, live event interaction, brand collabs, etc. The whole shebang that any VTuber creator could want and dream of. So then their very first wave was wave 1 called Instinct, which debuted with all of these creators. And by the way, if I keep looking down, it's because I have like all my notes on my iPad. It debuted with the VTubers Mukia, Lulu the Bard, Synth AI, Shiro, Zevalia, Ray, the CEO, by the way, debuted in this group as well, which is I think kind of odd, and Apollo. And to add, the two VTubers, Synth AI and Shiro, so Synth and Shiro, actually were terminated on November 9th. So they were in this VTuber agency for less than around 6 months. Then later along, so around October 26th, a new VTuber by the name of Kiri Star Year joined Instinct. Then they had wave 2 by the name of Saga, which debuted with the VTubers Cory Ojo, Miho Yana, and Aqua. There are some other projects in the work as well, with another wave of Saga VTubers by the name of Skari, Vixie, and Cost that were pre-debut, and another 2 generations that did not debut, but they were creators kind of like in the works. Due to all of this drama and everything that happened, or not even drama, this absolute fuckery, the CEO by the name of Ray Flynn has now deleted their Twitter accounts or deactivated it. I grabbed some screenshots, and before the deactivation, they made this tweet, which was on December 5th. I'm not leaving, I'm focusing on the bigger picture. Thank you everyone for all the support in my streaming journey over the last few years. It's time I really step back and focus on the light at the end of the tunnel. And the graphic reads, "Hey strays, I just want to start by saying this isn't a goodbye. I still love hanging out with all of you and streaming, but there are other things I have to prioritize right now. Virtuix, my talents, my future, and my health. The truth is that I've spread myself too thin and it's begun to affect various parts of my life. There are a lot of difficult things that I've unfortunately had to face alone, and while normally I would be able to, juggling so many responsibilities while also dealing with my health has made it much harder to be able to move on from these things in the way I normally would. 2024 hasn't been the greatest year for me personally, but seeing the things I've accomplished alongside others has me wanting to prioritize the growth of Virtuix and the talents we represent more than my own personal content creation journey. I'm currently at the point where I can't consistently create content I'm proud of while also growing the company and managing my commitments to work. I think it's fair to say that while I gave it a good try, I've fallen short on content, and it's not fair to myself or the community that supports me to put out content that's subpar. Where is this going? Well, I've decided to complete my subathon goal rewards, and at the end of 2024, December 30th, take an extended leave from streaming to focus on myself and Virtuix. I may still be around in collabs, as I do love content creation. I'll be trying something new and more sustainable for me in the time being. In 2025, I'll be uploading scripted YouTube content, not as a career, but as a way for me to network, stay in the know, and still do something I love, create content. I'll also remain active on this account. While I don't know the frequency of these uploads yet, I believe this is the best choice for me to continue doing what I love while still being able to handle my multitude of responsibilities. If and when I feel ready to come back to streaming, I will be doing so with a full re-debut. I'll still be Ray Flynn, just a Ray Flynn that can dedicate himself to making content I'm proud of. All this being said, 2024 has been both a hard and amazing year for Virtuix. While we've had many hardships, we've also achieved and learned so much, and I couldn't have done it without the awesome staff and amazing talents. 2025 will be the year that we take many next steps for the company, starting with expanding leadership roles, reorganizing and fixing systems to make everything run smoothly as we grow, pushing for more opportunities and creating lasting connections in the industry. I thank you all for the time we've shared together. I hope to see you all around, and I hope we can meet again while I return to content creation. Hasta la pasta. Ray. 6 days later after that, an artist that he had employed would come out with an expose, and it cracked everything wide open. So on December 11th at around 10 p.m. PST, Ichigo, who goes by the Twitter handle a strawberry LOL, writes, "Hey artists and editors, please be careful on small corpos DMing you to work for them. Not saying all of them are like this, right? At Ray Flynn used to be a CEO and quitted without telling me about it, and haven't paid 250 euros on a highlight since last month. Whenever I remind them about it, kindly as possible each time, they said they're busy with family and stuff, new wave, etc., which I don't want to judge since I don't know them IRL. But not paying an editor since last month seems very odd to me. This happened twice, by the way. I don't know if I'm being lied to the entire time. I'm just doing my job working as a freelance, making my client satisfied and happy. Here is the last date I sent an invoice to them, and the invoice is pending for 250 euros. I warned them one more time, if they don't reply this week and send the money, I will talk about it on Twitter, but they aren't responding till now, so yeah. Why can't people tell what's really up than being silent? I don't understand. And a lot of people in the comments were coming out with their experiences. We have already writing, I think I'm the only one who never got paid for the debut watch-alongs, but at this point, whatever. Sorry this happened to you. And Ichigo says, I'm sorry to hear that. By the way, debut watch-alongs are a sponsor thing that VTuber talent agencies tend to do, where when they're debuting new VTubers, they would pay other VTubers to watch the debut stream on their stream. You know how like when there are esports events, the esports events would pay streamers to co-stream the event? It's the same thing. Neus writes, oh, ... So them not paying the commission they asked for was the norm. I got ghosted by them when they booked a commission for a commercial illustration of one of their talents. Good thing I only work after payment is received. Really sorry you have to deal with this, Ichi. And everybody else in the comment section is agreeing that, hey, if you're gonna commission people, you should pay them. Duh. And then after that, on December 12th, we have a ton of VTubers and creators coming out with their experiences. I combined them into chronological order, so that is the order that I will be presenting them to you. But I'll clarify, some of these are VTubers or pre-debut VTubers under VirtuX at the time. Some of these will be artists that they work with, managers, etc. So at 6 a.m. on December 12th PST, Vixie VVT, who remember I mentioned is a pre-debut VTuber under VirtuX, writes, my experience with VirtuX, VE, and Raflin. This document describes my own personal experience as a talent of the VTuber agency VirtuX. To my community, I hope this serves as an explanation for my prolonged absence. They write, my experience with Raflin and VirtuX VE. I am now former, yet to be announced talent of VirtuX Virtual Entertainment. This document will go over all of my experiences with the company and the fraudulent actions of the CEO, Raflin. The long and short of this is, every single talent and staff member of this agency, myself included, was lied to about multiple things for over a year. These lies included everything from promised equipment and art to promised partnership with Vshojo. If I've censored a name, it's because I don't feel comfortable sharing their identity, myself, or they requested not to be named. They are always welcome to identify themselves, however. Please also note that all staff hired by Raflin were just as much in the dark as we were, and any ill feelings should be directed at Ray himself. If you find any screenshots in this document difficult to read, you can find an album of them here to view in higher res. My recruitment. This portion is simply to prove that I was recruited for VirtuX and signed a contract. We now have a reason to believe that the contracts we signed are void, and thus, despite the supposed NDA, I will post proof of the various things that I went through as a talent. In October 2023, I was contacted by Ray and was asked if I was interested in joining his up-and-coming agency. Ray states, I've been seeing your growth and was wondering if you're interested in joining. Basically, no pressure. You could join in Wave 3, which would debut in September and October if you like the way Wave 1 goes. And Vixie says, I would definitely be interested, but will also want to have that meeting to talk about things. I appreciate your notice. I'm excited to see what happens for Instinct and how they grow. I've been toying with making a new account and trying out some things to see how fast I can make them grow without resorting to follow baiting, etc. of course, so I'll share that info when I get it going if you want to pay attention to it. Ray says, yeah, of course, Instinct has a lot planned, so I'm very excited for it to all come out, and it's in its final prep stages. Spark, Wave 2's talent has just been signed, and we're getting them on necessary waitlists and setting them up with their artists, and now I'm working on the edgier, sexier wave, which I'm still finalizing the name on. And Ray basically says, I believe that VirtuX will become something special. Vixie says, yeah, there's been so many of them, referring to shitty agencies, doing shady shit. I'm super excited to see all of your hard work pay off. Ray says, haha, same. I think the main thing with VirtuX that I really want to make clear to everyone is that we don't own anyone's IP. We're less of a Nijisanji and more of an agency that helps small talents with tons of potential grow. And that's why his Instinct is so important, which I actually forgot to mention that earlier, but that is the thing that does separate VirtuX from other agencies. Typically in other agencies, you apply to be a VTuber under the agency, and then if you get in, they give you an alias and a VTuber model, etc. So it will not be the VTuber alias that you initially streamed under. But the difference with VirtuX is that you keep your IP. So if you started VTubing as, I don't know, Catliente, if I was a Catliente VTuber, I would enter VirtuX as still Catliente and would not have to rebrand. Vixie writes, Ray and I has previously worked together and I considered him a friend. We had a good track record. Without doxing what I know of his employment, suffice to say that he seemed like somebody who would be able to start a business and agency and be successful. At the time, I was in talks with another up-and-coming agency. Based on what was offered, I ended up going with VirtuX VE. So Ray says, Kuzi and I are both super excited to work with you and help you make your content creation dreams come true. Kuzi is somebody that will then make a statement later down the line, which I will read, but they, in the initial launch, was listed as the CEO. Ray continues, for the finalized contract, we would just need a message telling us what you would like for your debut, any artist you prefer. We'll also send you options if you like based on the artist you send in, your last 3 months of earnings from any stream video platforms, your legal name, address, and a photo of any ID proving you're at least 18 years of age. All your info remains secure and strictly confidential. With all the info, we can prepare the legal contract and accurately calculate the primary variable revenue split for your approval. And yeah, I gotta say, that may sound scary if you're a VTuber and anonymous, right? Because you have to give all this info. If it is a legal contract, they do need to put your whatever you file as. So if you file as individual, right, it might be different in different countries. So Virtuix is based in Canada and I am from the US. So I don't know how Canadian taxes work and laws. In the US, if you file as a sole proprietor, then or like an individual, you would need to put your legal name and your mailing address. So Ray sends the contract over. So Ray kind of updates being like, oh, sorry, I was like a little held up, but your contract will be coming soon. On November 27th, Ray sends over the contract. And the important things to note, if your current stream income is low, your initial variable split might be higher, but will be adjusted once you debut with Virtuix and we get a better idea of your new average income. We predict all of our talents will have a significant increase in viewership and income with our campaigns. The startup value granted in USD is just an estimate and can always be adjusted if need be. The startup value on the contract is only inclusive of an estimate value for model, outfit, rig, and small assets. Anything else like music, covers, lore, etc. would fall under excess funding, which would be discussed further when preparing assets for your debut. This is because everyone's extra debut assets differ and to keep the startup cost similar. And then they sent a revision due to one of the other talents having clarification on merchant sponsorship payouts. Then Vixie asked for some clarification on the contract about a 15-15 split. Ray knows that 15% goes towards your management and editing, the other 15% goes towards your assets. Vshojo plus other partnerships lie. The biggest lie we were told involving Virtuix partnering with Vshojo. Ray led us all to believe that he was good personal friends with the CEO of Vshojo, Gunrun, and that Gunrun was given ownership for a portion of the company. He also stated that Gunrun would be our new CMO under an alias. Ray has shown legitimacy on his contacts prior, so it seemed plausible that he would be telling the truth. This became especially important when there was a time that Ray threatened to hand the company over to Gunrun and quit altogether. Of course, we know now that every bit of that was completely fabricated. So here, Ray says, yeah, haha, after this partnership we might. Did I leak? I thought I told you. It's a graphic with the Vshojo logo, X, and then the Virtuix logo. And then Ray says, keep it shh, but our CMO is a Vshojo staff. And then a screenshot noting that Ray had mentioned about quitting, where Ray says, if you want to explain to them a bit about stuff while staying vague and not mentioning I'm planning on quitting, I'm cool with it. And then Vixie writes, Ray decides to stay and says once again that we're partnered with Vshojo. And then here in the DMs, Ray says, well, it's done. I'm staying. I'll be announcing on the server in a couple days. We're officially partnered with Vshojo on paper. And Vixie asks, congrats. What made you decide to stay? Ray says, haha, actually, well, the people I knew and supported me like you, Instinct, Kiri, Redacted, etc. And hilariously enough, Gunrun. You guys helped me realize that I'm not a failure. I'm just one person that's been stretched way too far with no assistance. An announcement in which Ray talks about bringing on a new CMO and a partnership in the agency, which he privately told everyone, including staff, is Vshojo. So this was sent in the Discord on June 13th. It reads, howdy everyone. And this is from Ray. Sorry for the delay on this. Got home super late from work and then got called back in, so I'm writing this from my phone. Again, sorry for the lack of updates on things. Have been trying my best, but between work, life, and managing Virtuix things behind the scenes, it's been a little hard to juggle everything myself. So we decided to reach out to somebody trusted to help manage things and keep everything on track as a CMO. So it lists basically a division in roles that Virtuix will enter a partnership with another agency, which Ray says they've been instructed to not share, and that some of you already have a pretty good idea of what agency it is. And then some updates about Saga budgeting, which was the second wave to debut. Spark, I would love to have meetings with y'all, which never debuted, or it never came to fruition. And then we have a screenshot from Kuzi, and Kuzi in Discord on July 14th says, hey, there's been a lot of movement recently in regards to progress. We are still trying to finalize this partnership and there's a lot of variables that go into that. So just want to say I appreciate everyone's patience. I know it can be frustrating when there's no progress on things you can't control, but the reason I'm writing this message is because I want to get caught up on things that are in my control. So again, another alluding to this partnership with Vshojo. Another screenshot where Ray says almost done, Gunrun approved the firing, so ... And then another message implying Vshojo. This is on November 8th, where Ray says, one, I don't want it to taint the Vshojo announcement. And then some other stuff about Vshojo, Saga, Blair, collabs. And then it reads, one more thing I'm going to ask them tomorrow, but after talk with some agency higher up, I decided I'm going to make Kale and Cruz partners in this agency, so me, Kuzi, and them will all be equals. And we're going to go for investment. That way you guys never have to worry about whether or not you can do something, but how we're going to do it. I have faith in all of you. It's time I swallow my pride a bit and take steps needed to make this agency a top 4 contender. In the doc, Vixie writes, on December 4th, 2024, it came out that the Vshojo partnership did not exist. Gunrun's partial ownership or position of CMO did not exist, etc. Instead, we learned that there had the possibility of an angel loan with Vshojo, and that's it. Other promised partnerships include Throne Partner, Discord Partner, and Hoyovers. Live 2D model art lie. Admittedly, finding a model for my brand was difficult because I wanted a live 2D model with a fully nude base and potential NSFW toggles. We went through many different options and they were either not within budget or, according to Ray, they didn't answer him. So here we have Ray stating on March 13th, she hasn't replied, and even Redacted reached out, the studio she works with is having trouble getting a reply. And then Vixie says the next message includes a tweet from the artist we were talking about, which has been removed to protect their identity. And then here's the artist, and then Ray says, I'll hit her up, and Vixie says, okay, she does have an app process, and Vixie was asking for an update, and Ray says, nope, no update yet. And Vixie was just checking in again, asking for updates, and Ray still says no. This is like, by the way, a month apart, like a month and a day apart now. By the way, all of these times, Ray is citing bad mental health. Like, oh, I've been going through, I've been really busy, da 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 da. So here, now we're on July 2nd, and Ray says, yeah, for sure, sorry, been going through it mentally, so I took the last 2 days to breathe. Let the things redacted was saying get to my head and nearly quit. I'm so tired of redacted treating me like garbage. And Vixie says, suffice to say that I sent him a number of artists from around March to July, trying to find an option that would work for a live 2D model. In mid-July, we finally found one that we both liked and thought would work. We'll call them A1 or Artist 1. Vixie sends a tweet and says they open comms July 14th. And then on July 13th, Ray says, I'll fill out the app tomorrow and poke redacted about it when her comms open. And then model was approved July 22nd. Vixie writes, on September 1st, Ray reached out to me for an emergency call about switching artists. He told me that another artist, we'll call them A2 or Artist 2, had reached out since he had applied to their openings prior. This was plausible to me because I had sent Artist 2 to him as a favor and he had assumed that he had actually been contacting the artist I had sent him. He said that they were interested in creating a live 2D model for me and could make the requested October 21st deadline if they also did their rigging. I was more attached to Artist 2 styles than A1, and he assured me that he had a friend that could fill my slot with A1 as to not screw them over by canceling. I agreed to switch. And then here in the DMs, it shows exactly what Vixie said, where Vixie says, oh, Artist 2 said all applicants have been contacted. Did she get back to you? And Ray says, oh, she had contacted me before since we applied prior. And that Ray stated they were just waiting for the invoice. And Vixie writes, I was excited. I was relieved to know that things are being handled and that I finally had a model artist locked in. I left things alone, certain that Ray would add us together in a group chat when able. But over a month went by and I hadn't heard anything. So now it's October 4th. Vixie is being really polite and kind, just kind of doing a little check-in, asking if everything's okay and how it's looking, especially because the deadline is like 2 weeks after that. And Ray says just getting her on this to make it. She's usually pretty fast, but it's like 10 p.m. there, so hopefully I can make it overnight. Some messages where Ray says, hey, sorry, my Discord mobile is being awful today. I updated it and it's not vibing. And this is like messages on October 10th. And Vixie writes, I was promised an update that I asked for multiple times. So on October 21st, Ray says, hey, sorry for the delay on things. I got an update over the weekend, but I've been in bed and in the ER for the last few days. They told me not to take my antidepressants while we figure this out, so I've been freaking out, but I hope it's nothing serious. And Vixie's being really kind, and Ray says, thank you so much. I think if they figure this out, a lot of other stuff can be solved, so I'm really hoping. I want to be healthy again. Now on October 23rd, Vixie is still being very kind and just begging Ray, like, please add me and the artist together in a group chat so that we can start talking, and even offering other alternatives like, hey, if you just give me the Discord, I can do it too. And then Ray says, hey, sorry, I just woke up. I'll get on my PC and get it done. Again, like more excuses, and my health, you know, I'm having migraines, whatever. And Vixie is again being very kind. I'm so sorry. I hope you feel better. Like, I feel so bad, especially because like in all these situations, right, with like scams, whatever, it is always kind people that get taken advantage of. I'm not reading all the messages like word for word because we have so many people to go through, but like literally every single time Vixie has been like, are you okay? I hope you're okay. I hope you've been well. You know, every time Ray is like, I'm having this health problem. I'm having this problem. I'm having this problem. But like this whole time they're being just let on. Now we're in November. So it's November 8th. Vixie is still asking for a group chat. Like literally all they're asking, put us in a group chat together and then we can figure it out. And Ray is like still dragging his feet on it and blaming the artist, stating that the artist hasn't signed the TOS. And then Ray on November 10th, Ray is like, I'll get you set up with her tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. And then on November 11th, Vixie bumps it again, very kindly. And Vixie writes, I did not receive the update. Upset and frustrated, stressed beyond belief, I messaged him again. And Vixie says, Ray, can we have a meeting? I would like to talk about things to make sure we're all good for debut. Because I'm going to be honest, I'm stressed to tears right now. I'm not mad or anything. I just feel in the dark and we are essentially 3 weeks out. In the messages, Ray is like, I'm so sorry. I haven't slept. I've been so busy. Da 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 da. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And Vixie's like, yeah, I know things have been really stressful. Da da da. There's like other things I'm concerned about, like the background, the emotes, but the biggest one is the model. And again, being very, very kind. Vixie writes, Ray implied that Artist 2 was now ghosting him and that he was going to get Gunrun involved to make them answer or finish the model. So on November 14th, that's exactly what Ray says. I'm also authorizing a secondary artist with rush fees in case that she decides to be sketchy. I know she's doing corporal work right now, so him lighting a fire under her ass should at least get us progress. Kind of like, you know, pulling in some other artists to piece together some work with some backup plans. Vixie writes, I then had a 5-hour meeting with Ray to try to figure out a backup plan. He originally wanted to try and get a model done within the 3-week time frame he had allotted for the new debut dates. I was skeptical about that, but we spent a long time searching for artists. So yeah, you can see here, 5-hour call that happened November 14th. The next morning, he sent me a screenshot of an Iron Mouse tweet implying that Gunrun had gotten her involved to look for a model for me. The timing of this was just crazy. Iron Mouse's tweet reads, looking for someone who can rig and draw a 2D model, super quick, good quality, or a 3D model, and by quick I mean like 2 weeks for a secret project. So yeah, wait, it actually really lined up to where it looks like Ray was good for his money. Artist 2 actually responded to Iron Mouse's tweet, been led to believe, of course, that Artist 2 was completely ghosting both of us and Gunrun. My understanding now is that tweet was actually about getting a model for Kai Cenat. And Ray says, haha, Gunrun was effing laughing because she ignored him. I genuinely can't believe he got her involved. I'm dead. The perks of having friends. Like, literally trying to make it seem like he's friends with Iron Mouse and Gunrun. This guy is on like a different level of Delulu. This is actually insane. So then some art was sent. And Vixie says, let me look at them. Are we refunding on redacted then? And literally Ray is still selling the lie where Vixie says, are we refunding on redacted then? Or is it going to be one of those instances where Iron Mouse is like, you're already doing this project, friend, lol. And Ray says, honestly, no idea yet. I just woke up with a message from Gunrun with a link to the tweet and let me know if any of these are good, end quote. I just sent him a screenshot of redacted with the laughing face emoji. I insisted that artist number 2 was my favorite and was very sad that they were ghosting us. So he said he hoped that Gunrun could get things figured out. Our next call and meeting, Ray told me that he had filed a PayPal dispute with artist number 2 and that they'd sent the money back to him and blocked him. He then pushed very hard for me to choose another model artist. I would have a temporary model to debut with the agency and then a proper model starting in July to debut towards the end of 2025. Ray says basically that. So me and Kruz came up with a pivot. You'll be part of Saga, but we'll debut you early next year with one more NSFW creator. Instinct will have one, Saga will have you. We'll call it After Hours and do a launch campaign for both of you. We can get Freem to do a watch along with 2 other big creators, and you'll both have a debut on Twitch and Fansly, so strategy stuff like that. When it came out that Ray had lied about contacting the artist for our alerts, I decided to go ahead and contact artist number 2 to see what had actually transpired with my model. I had previously considered this as I was growing doubtful, but after careful thought, I decided against it on the off chance that something like a Vshojo partnership actually existed. Turns out my model was never selected and artist number 2 had never contacted him proactively. Instead, Ray had reached out to them after my project was not selected during the application phase. So some art was sent. Oh my god, it's so pretty. Sorry. Vixie says, hi, redacted. I wanted to reach out because I feel as though there has been some kind of miscommunication. Ray Flynn was supposed to have reached out to you to commission a model on my behalf. Could you tell me what happened with that situation? Please know that I am not coming at you aggressively or with negative intentions. I just want to understand because I'm worried I was told an incorrect version of events. Thanks so much. And the artist says when they filled out the application form, they requested full body art only for mid-October, with added rigging if we could fit it with an early November deadline. We prefer working on rig or art and rig instead of art only. We had other projects that were more interesting to us and we didn't want to pick a project that might have needed a rush fee as we're coming out of 2 really dense projects that left us near burnout. Vixie says, oh, okay, so I was told that you reached out to him and added me to the queue. Am I understanding correctly that you just declined from the get-go? Thanks so much for your response, heart. I guess I also want to ask if money did actually exchange hands. I was told it was refunded, but if you declined from the beginning, the artist says, we received an application through the Google Forms and it wasn't selected. They reached out to us after we announced that clients had been selected to ask for a reserved slot and it was denied. No money ever exchanged hands as we only do a personalized quote with those we select, and it's only billed when we begin to work on the project. This is our full conversation with Ray Flynn. And the DM says, hi, we don't offer slot reservations or similar fees to circumvent the application process. If you want, you can tell us the name of the applicant and we can get back to you with a rough idea of the chances it would have to get picked in the future. As always, we cannot guarantee a commission and it greatly depends on other applications it's competing against, but if we already know it's improbable to get picked in the future, we can let you know so you don't waste you or your talent's time waiting for another opening only to be rejected again. So Ray says, it was Vixie V, though the name should be under Ray, Flynn, or Ray. The artist says, we reviewed the application and while it wasn't on our top contenders, it wasn't on the low end either. Being an art-only project, it does lose some appeal to us on a project that would have a tough competition already. You can apply again on the next commission cycle around January, February if you want, but the chances wouldn't be in your favor if the amount of applications remain close to the amount we have been receiving lately, considering the low amount of slots we can offer. Thank you for your interest and we appreciate you reaching out. We hope that the info was useful and if you need anything else, please feel free to ask. Have a nice day. So Ray basically stated that they would actually love for rigging too and they weren't sure if they could make the timeline and that we would love for you to work with her, so we definitely would apply it next time around. For reference, I don't recall if there's a budget. We were able to expense 12,000 euros for model and rigging, so if it does come down to that in any way, I'm happy to discuss pricing further. And the artist says, don't worry, the budget should be more than enough. The main issue would be deadlines as the ones offered did not work well with us for other projects we have started. And, asking them to reapply again. Vixie says, thank you so much. This is completely different from what I was told. I have to be very careful about what I say because I am under an NDA. But settling this helps me a lot as you are one of my favorite artists and riggers. Vixie continues, my speculation is that he never actually applied to artist number 1 and then applied to artist number 2 in an attempt to cover himself. Hence him asking me to switch on September 1st before he had even heard back. He didn't end up actually contacting artist number 2 until September 10th. So when he told me things were finalized and he was just waiting on an invoice, it was another lie. So essentially from July 22nd until discovering the lie on December 4th, I had been told that I had a live 2D model in progress. To cover his lies, he went so far as to slander these artists to us so that we would not discover what he had done. Ray told me multiple times that he had commissioned overlays from a popular graphic designer for a previous talent who was fired and that he told them to keep the money. He told me that he would contact them and get them to slot me in since the slots were paid for, and that he confirmed that they were in progress. Unfortunately, I don't have concrete screenshots of this since it was mostly said in voice, but I do have some talking about them being in progress. Where in November, Ray is like, gonna see if Redacted is cool making Discord room 2 so we can get everything done. Let me get everything sorted. Redacted is online, I'll poke her. I reach out to the overlay artist in question and it turns out that they have never received any communication from him whatsoever. They don't even know who he is. And here are the DMs, where Vixie says, hey Redacted, I just want to reach out because there's something I wanted to confirm. I was told by Ray that he had previously commissioned you for some overlays for a talent. Then he ended up having to cancel that. He told me that he had reached out to you and that you were willing to make overlays for me to fulfill that order. I just want to double check with you and see if that's the case. I have reasons now to believe that he may have been dishonest with me. Then the artist says, hi, nice to meet you. I'm actually quite confused because I'm looking through all my emails and DMs and I never have spoken to this Ray Flynn before, unless they were using a different name to contact me. And then, do you happen to know the name of the original talent, if that's okay to ask? And Vixie says, oh my gosh, I think the original talent was redacted. The artist checked, showed a screenshot showing, yeah, I never had a convo with this person before. And Vixie's like, wait, oh my god, he only sent it on voice, and sent the screenshots we just looked at of Ray's DMs, writing, essentially, I'm a VirtuX talent that hasn't debuted yet, and we are discovering an enormous amount of lies. And the artist says, oh my god, I'm so sorry to hear that. Vixie says, he said that he had already booked Redacted overlays with you, but he fired Redacted, so he reached out to see if I could have the slot instead, and said that you said it was okay, and then just implied that you were being slow to answer him. The artist says, oh dear, what's going on? I'm checking through my request forms and don't have a name matching that. So they go back and forth and the artist says, I'm so sorry to hear that. The thing is, I've not opened commissions officially either since April, so it would have been really obvious if they did commission me. I don't have any convos with Redacted either. You have gone through so much. And Vixie says he apparently lied about at least a dozen people, including my model artist as well. There are 12 of us. It's crazy. Thank you so much for confirming for me though. So Ray says, funny because I don't have them on Discord either, so I'm not sure how they knew I was online. Failure to pay as agreed. Ray was constantly late on payments to various artists, contractors, staff, etc. As far as I am aware, only one of the creators contacted to do a watch-along for VirtuX debuts had been paid. Members of our management team have not been paid since October, with one of them having never received a paycheck at all despite working for 2 months. I personally split the cost of my emos with my manager just to get them done, with the hope that he would be paid back by VirtuX for his cost of things. At this time, my logo has yet to be paid for, and I'm working to figure out how to pay for that. I had my background artist reached out to me when they didn't receive payment for months. The balance was actually paid, but only after me poking multiple times for the payment to happen. I know that other talents in the agency experienced something similar, but I don't want to speak for them specifically. Please keep in mind that my manager had zero access to company financials, so he was only a go-between. He could not make payments himself. Below is a screenshot from my background artist. So the artist says, excuse the private message. I was working with your manager for the background, but he now doesn't answer. And I want to know if there's any interest in continuing the commission or to cancel it. So Vixie forwarded the message. The artist says, thank you. The artist says, hi, just received the rest of the payment. This is the link for the files. And Vixie says, thank you so much for sending that to me. I'm so sorry again about your experience, but I adore your work so much. You've made an incredible background for me and I love it to pieces. Other various lies. If any talent of VirtuX began to push back against Ray, I'm so sorry. My cat is like meowing right now. He would carefully begin to character assassinate them to the other talents. I only experienced a little bit of this in my conversations with him as I kept my head down for the most part. If someone was terminated, he lied about the reasons why. So the TLDR for the Discord message, Ray says, hello, I have the unfortunate news to share that after an investigation, we discovered one of our NDAs was breached. We're going to reach out to you guys to confirm some information and we would appreciate for your cooperation. We're deeply, incredibly upset we have to make this announcement. For the perpetrator, I'm sure you know who you are. This is the last chance to come forward privately to me and Kuzi and discuss what has been shared illegally with us without legal action being taken immediately. If you don't come forward, you will be persecuted to the full extent of your contract and held responsible for any expenses incurred in your time with us. And Ray says, hello, as we stated earlier, unfortunately one of them has breached the NDA and we've immediately removed her from both servers, the company, and all existing and pending partnerships. Please immediately cease contact with Redacted. She has been added to the blacklist. We are pursuing legal action against her to the fullest extent of her contract, and we're very disappointed. Vixie writes, having talked with the talent this is referring to, they informed me that the reason they were given their termination was that they made people uncomfortable, not that they actually breached contract. And Ray says, unfortunate timing and a little earlier than planned, but we decided to part ways with Redacted effective immediately. As an agency, we hold our talents to a certain standard of professionalism, and unfortunately, both these talents don't hold up to the standard. And they cited correcting behavior, delinquency in payment as agreed upon, unimproved vacation, problematic statements, and refusal to meet with management. They decided to terminate. Vixie writes, Ray was incredibly careful to use the threat of legal ramifications to keep all talents afraid and isolated. We are afraid to reach out to people who had been terminated in the event that something would happen and we would breach our contracts. After people were terminated, Ray continued to character assassinate them to ensure that we did not contact them. Final announcement. Ray posts, hey everyone, I first want to apologize that this didn't come sooner. Ever since Friday, I had not had access to a phone or PC until this morning. I won't beat around the bush or give any excuses. I was a terrible boss that spread myself very thin and tried my best to meet expectations. Unfortunately, that led to me severely falling short. With everything going on in my personal life and in Virtuix, everything small that happened in the company took a massive toll on me. That, however, should not have affected you all, and I should have acted faster to fix things under constant pressure. I don't expect any forgiveness, nor do I expect you to make any excuses for my shortcomings. I was a shit boss, and even though I was trying, I should have tried harder to give you all the proper treatment you deserve. Effective Friday, December 13th, so today, Virtuix will cease operations. Additionally, I do intend to complete any promised and started work for talent, staff, and payout contracts accordingly. This includes any deliverables still being worked on. Any outstanding balances will be wiped in total, meaning no assets or contracts are expected to be further paid, and contracts will be dissolved. You will each receive a notice of this by Monday that officially states the dissolving of your contract. Even if it doesn't mean much, I really am sorry for falling short and breaking trust with you all. I really did start this with the best intentions and wanted to help you all grow, as you're all amazing creators. The problem was me being incompetent, overwhelmed, and not acting faster to ensure you all got proper treatment you deserve. I'm sorry for failing you all, and even if you hate me right now, you really are all amazing creators, and I know you'll do well. And the react spells out lies. Vixie writes, this was made December 11th, 2024. Ray disappeared from contact on December 6th. Later, he ghosted a December 9th Monday meeting with our managers. According to his roommate, he left for a business trip on November 4th and took his PC with him. He returned to the area but had been at a parent's house since November 21st. In this announcement, Ray states that he hadn't had access to his PC or phone from December 6th to the 11th, but I'm friends with him on Steam and he played Marvel Rivals on December 8th. The explanation given to our managers was that he was overwhelmed and checked himself into a psychiatric facility. But if that's the case, he most likely wouldn't have access to a Steam account or his PC. Below is a screenshot of his Steam activity showing when he played Marvel Rivals. Here we have Ray. It says please send help, and 2.7 hours on record, last played December 8th. And linked as well are everyone else's statements, which we will be going through. Vixie writes, conclusion. So many people were deceived. This document doesn't even feel like it encompasses everything. While I personally never gave Ray any of my money, as I wouldn't start paying a percentage until my debut, there are many people who have lost money due to his deception. And while Ray has promised to fulfill contracts as promised, even after dissolving the agency, many of us know that we will be left to pick up the pieces and cover the payments that he failed to make. I was originally going to fund my own model and debut earlier this year, but as I was supposed to debut with Virtuix and things were going to be funded upfront by the company, I waited. I invested over a year into this agency and I barely have anything at all to show for it. The best thing that happened to me was meeting my fellow talents, who are all wonderful people and did not deserve any of this. I anticipate that many people will question why we didn't figure things out sooner, and I understand. If I were on the outside looking in, I'd probably feel the same. But Ray was very skilled at keeping us afraid, isolated, and manipulated information to make himself look in control. He did a lot of conversations over voice and is very charismatic and great at controlling the narrative. It's only when his hold over things began to fray that we started to see through things. Plus, sometimes he did actually follow through, and that gave him credibility, especially at the beginning. I personally also considered him a good friend and have a history working for him as his own social media manager and personal assistant. I have no reason to think that any of this would be the end result. Why did he do this? I have no idea. I like to hope that he started off with good intentions, but I really have no explanation for why things spiraled the way they did. To the other talents who were let go, I ask that you please remember that we were all manipulated. Please don't villainize us for not reaching out, as we were all told to cease contact and were under the impression that we were bound by an NDA. To Ray Flynn, I hope that you take responsibility for the overwhelming amount of hurt that you've caused. Words truly cannot describe how much damage you've done. To anyone reading this, please be careful. Please be skeptical of the promises of a person or agency, no matter how legitimate they sound. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. I consider myself to be pretty good at sussing out scams or lies, but I was still taken in by this. Hindsight is 2020, and this is honestly just a small chunk of what happened and doesn't cover the many experiences of my fellow talent. Thank you for reading about my experience. Please stay vigilant and always advocate for yourself. TLDR plus extra details. Promise to debut October 2024. Promise that my model overlays and alerts would be completed in time. Went through many instances of being ignored or ghosted by CEO. Discovered that anything I was told about my model alerts and overlays were fabricated, and said artists were slandered in the process. Heard defamation about other talents multiple times over VC. Was diminished to just being a moneymaker and creator to other talents over VC just because I do NSFW work. Promise a Vshojo partnership. Promise high-profile watch-alongs for my debut with creators like Cottontail or Dokibird. Essentially threatened into silence and obedience with the implication that putting a toe out of line would result in legal ramifications. Had to cover portions of the payment for the asset myself. Logo is still not paid for. Many people and employees involved in the agency or doing things for the agency have not been paid. Lied to for months and months and months about so many things. That is the end of Vixie's document, and for that, I am so sorry to them for everything that they went through. And I do want to emphasize this as I will read people's statements, right? This is not the fault of the creators in this agency, okay? Some people are really good at spinning lies, getting a lot of people to believe them, and segregating people so that they don't talk to each other to figure out the lies. Some people are very manipulative, and it's not the fault of people who were deceived by these bad actors. And the worst part is these bad actors always deceive the kindest people. Like in the messages, Vixie was so nice in all of the updates. Ray was like low-key trauma dumping on Vixie, and I think it's a little inappropriate for a CEO, like this is my life problem, this, that, and the third, this is why I can't do your work. Like, just own up. So sorry, I was busy, I'll get it done, and then do it. And Vixie was just so kind every single time, applying emotional comfort to them. And Vixie did say that they considered them a friend, but and Ray was just like dragging him along the entire time. So in the comments, Studio Gumi writes, he also contacted me and tried to get me to make your model in a rush and then ghosted me, lol, again. With a screenshot from Ray, a DM being like, hey there, long time no talk. Hope you've been well. I'm the founder of a new VTuber agency called VirtuX. And then, yeah, Vixie says, I am so sorry. Oh my God, I had no idea you were even contacted. Wani says, you don't need to apologize for anything. I'm sorry you had to deal with these clowns. Next up, we have Skari Faye, who also dropped their document at the exact same time Vixie did, at 6 a.m. in the morning. Skari writes, I'm sorry that I came to this. I am a former pre-debuted talent of VirtuX. This document outlines my experience with this VTuber agency and its CEO, Ray. Please be kind to the other talents and staff. Nobody deserved this. Skari writes, my experience with Ray Flynn and VirtuX VE. Back in October 2023, I was hired to be part of VirtuX Virtual Entertainment. They wanted me to debut with a wave called Saga that would arrive October 2024. I'm writing this document to go over the lies, lack of communication, blatant ignoring, and manipulation done by the CEO, Ray. This document is purely my own. There are many stories from other talents and staff members, but those aren't mine to tell. I would update this section under here with links to other talents' documents as they are posted. Please do not harass any of the VirtuX staff. They were in the dark just as much as the rest of us, and they were a huge part of how we discovered all of this was happening. Most of them never received their paychecks. Design. We went with a really great artist designer for Skari's 2.0 design. I was promised a group chat with said artist and 4 designs that we would talk about before coming up with a final, and was given neither. After Ray gave me the first design work in progress, when I asked if there were more to follow like I was promised, I was ignored. This is not the artist's fault. You will find that this is a recurring issue where Ray did not allow the talents to speak with their artists. So in the DMs again, this is January 3rd, where Ray is saying, I'll reach out to them for a slot in February, March and see if they can accommodate. In the meantime, can you give me some information? And then Skari says, thank you, I have a Pinterest board made. Now, a couple of days later on the 8th, Ray is asking for the folder and gives the folder to Ray. Skari writes, Ray never let me talk to the artist before they started working. And Ray says, in February 1st, I'll get us all in a Discord chat once the she-demon sends your sketch and we can get everything worked out. And I'm gonna cover the rough sheet. No need to pay or put it on your tab. And Skari says, I never received a rough sheet. So on March 24th, Skari is again asking, hey, when's the group chat gonna come along? And Ray's like, yeah, they're gonna do some preliminary sketches to give us some ideas. Then we'll do a call to pick, choose, mix and match and make changes. Now, April 7th, Skari is bumping it again. April 9th, bumped it again. And the 11th, bumped it again. Again, Skari's being very respectful and all the bump stuff like that, and they're getting ghosted by Ray. Skari writes, my birthday subathon went from April 15th to the 26th. I had several goals that were based around having my 2.0 design and was getting anxious. So Skari bumped it again on the 19th, and on the 21st, bumped it again. And Ray says it should be done before May, but I can poke. And Skari writes, I was never given any dates. As you can tell by the screenshots, Ray loved ignoring people when they were asking for him to do work. And on the 26th, Ray is here asking Skari to use some of their community's money to cover Redacted's fee. And Ray is offering to cover back that $800 in case they don't win the dispute with Redacted, maybe another artist, and that their card has gone through $9,000 of charges. And Skari says, I definitely can. And Ray says, okay, awesome. With commercial rights and everything, it's $400. Is that okay? Ray says, yeah. Are we still going to get a few designs and say what we like and make it into the final one? Now we're in May. So on May 6th, Skari says, hey, I hope Monday's going well. Did Redacted happen to say anything? And Ray says, let me poke. Sorry, I was at my follow-up today and it tuckered me out. Skari writes, writes, another talent at the time had their design being done by this designer as well. Ray leaked their design to me, but refused to talk about my own. So here are the DMs. Skari says they're gorgeous. Did they get the Skari designs too? And Ray just ignored it. Like, literally is talking about want to hang out in the hangout room, something about painkillers. Skari writes, he repeatedly ignored me, not responding to my questions and making excuses. On May 11th, Skari says, today's the day for the design, yeah? And Ray says, I believe so. He got 3 out of 4 marked in the Trello. On the 13th, Ray sends a sketch writing. He did apologize for being a little late. He's working on finishing rendering today. And Skari says, sweet, I'm excited. And on May 14th, Skari says, you're just gonna say you saw something that leave me hanging? And Ray says, hee hee, and then sends the design. Skari writes, this was the last time we mentioned the designer. Ray never responded to my question. The last time it was brought up, it was asking about TOS changes and he ignored the question. With Skari in October 12th writing, hey Ray, are you sure the new design is going to be okay with the TOS? Model art. When I signed onto the company, I was promised a new model plus an alternate outfit when I debuted with Virtuix in October. My 2.0 model was to be debuted late spring, early summer due to issues that I had with my 1.0 model being made by an AI scammer on Etsy. This way, I wouldn't have the problematic model leading up to my company debut. The alternate outfit was to be debuted with Virtuix in October. So these are conversations between Skari and Kuzi, and this is on November 8th, 2023. So Skari is kind of talking about how their current model artist took their money, ran with it, and traced and used AI. And they were asking, I've been wondering if it would be better to wait until Saga to replace the model or just keep trying for something as soon as I can. And Kuzi says, oh, I just talked with Ray and we can offer to assist you in paying for a new model as well as what your community has raised. And we'll start the process probably at the end of January after the Instinct launch, which means you'll probably get it late February, early March. Then we can offer you a new outfit for Saga's launch in October. And Skari says, that's so kind of you guys. And Ray says, this is November 29, 2023. Though again, if you want to get rid of your current model and start the new one earlier, since you have a good amount of the money for a new one, we can get it started early so you can start using the new model earlier and then just have an outfit done for Virtuix debut in October. Your choice. And then January 16th, 2024, Skari sends over the artist price sheet listing the items they were looking for, an outfit for after the main model, animal ears, horntail, and nude base. And then asking for some expressions and a group chat with the 3 of them. And Ray says, I usually don't even give artists an NDA TBH. Most of them understand the privacy, but I don't think we even need to add privacy since you'll be using it right away. Then Ray sends some potential future outfit ideas. And Ray was thinking about a high fashion event. Skari is really excited. And Skari writes, I had a few problems finding artists at first, but eventually I found my amazing new model, Mama Panda. I share this document with her and have her permission to post her name and some screenshots she took. So this is on April 30th. They're talking about how they really like Panda's artwork and that it's very affordable. And then Ray says, I'm down to go with her too. Let me message her. Ray adds, also the price will be around 1,200 euros as an estimate, which is honestly way in budget with Marshmallow, but that includes 6 expressions you chose, blooming flowers for your antlers and some arm toggles if you wanted, plus the legs. And Skari adds, I'm not sure why he said 1,200 euros was the estimated price there. Panda didn't give him an estimated price until August. And here's the DM from Panda, where Panda, this is on August 16th, 2024, writes 645 euros for the model, including all 6 expressions. For the toggles, it might be better to look into that when we finish the base models with expressions due to the timeline. And sorry for the delay, my internet is currently not working properly, but I'll have better internet again on Sunday since I'll be moving tomorrow. So messages might be a bit delayed till then. And in the DMs with Skari, Panda says that was the first time he got an estimated price, indicating that it was in August. So Skari writes back to April, oh yeah, does the 1,200 euros count the alternate outfits? Because that's quite the jump from 500. And Ray says it's because the art is really complex with the hooves and the layers for the blooming flowers. Plus, he said she wanted to estimate higher rather than lower. And then Ray says, honestly, 1,200 is really in budget, so I'm not ruffled about it. TBH 500 was really low for the amount of detail, so I thought it would go up. So they have a call for an hour, and Skari writes, Ray then began ignoring me and making up excuses for why he couldn't make a group chat with the artist, as he had done with my designer. So on June 6th, and Skari's trying to ask for an update. Ray says, oh, after we lock in payment, I will. Now, 14 days later on the 20th, Skari bumps it again, and Ray has another excuse. A day later, Skari bumps it, and again, this is just a group chat. Like, it's literally just for a group chat so then Skari can start communications. It was the same issue with Vixie, where he couldn't even do that. And likely the reason why is because the artist was never contacted in the first place. Skari writes, one of the excuses Ray gave for why he couldn't set up the group chat was that he had given Panda rules for how to interact with me, and she hadn't agreed to them. He didn't want artists to be able to talk to talents in private because supposedly he was worried artists would try to scam them. Looking back, it was probably so he could keep us talents in the dark about Ray not paying them. And then Skari is asking if Marsh is okay, showing with like a tweet. Ray says, yeah, she let me know she's still good to work on you. She's just not going to be a full-time artist anymore. Had a bad experience with a couple of clients. And then Skari is asking for a bump again about the rules so that they can get into a group chat together. And Skari writes, my vacation was from June 29th to July 6th. At the very end of this convo, Ray was talking about the Vshojo partnership and trauma dumping on me, a talent. So now we're in July. So July 11th, Skari's bumping again very kindly. You know, Ray sent a bunch of kind of like excuses and then writes, sorry for the late reply. Had a meeting with Vshojo today. And while CEO Ray is staying with big changes to our roster. July 12th, 13th, 14th, Skari sends some bumps and Skari was showcasing their new emotes. And then on the 15th, Skari bumps them again. Again, a little nervous that maybe the artist doesn't want to do their model anymore. And Skari writes, you can see me sending a bunch of new emotes on July 14th after being ignored for several days. I was testing whether or not he'd respond since he only seemed to ignore me about things that would cause him to do work. And lo and behold, he did respond to the emotes a day later. Then he went right back to ignoring me. Good theory. On the 26th of July, Skari bumps it again about the artist and Ray is making excuses again, being like, did something this morning, work starts next week according to her to meet a deadline of early September. Confirm with my riggers that they can rush the model. Sam and Rafu should both be able to do it. And Skari is again asking for a group chat, which is like the easiest thing to set up unless you never contacted the artist at all. On July 31st, I had a bit of a breakdown messaging both Ray and Kuzi about the model. With the amount of awful communication going on, I thought I was being fired and Ray just hadn't told me yet. He had done that to other talents before. When he wanted to fire somebody, he would put off firing them for over a month sometimes and just ignore them completely. It was horrible. So again, Skari is like bumping Ray, being like, hey, is everything okay? What about the artist? Can we get in a call and talk about it? I'm sorry to spam, but I just really want to be in the loop with what's going on with my model. And then Ray messaged Kuzi, remember the acting CMO, hey Kuzi, do you know if Ray had said anything about my model artist to you or if he's really busy or something? Supposedly she was supposed to start this week and all he has to do is set up a group chat with us since I'm not allowed to talk with her without management. And I can't understand why it's not happening because he's been completely silent about it. I'm so frustrated at how I had zero say with my own design and now the model art has been pushed so far back that it's not going to be ready to debut before Saga and I'm not allowed to talk to her myself so I can't do anything. And Skari is asking if they're going to be fired and Kuzi says, oh god, no, you're not at fault at all. And Kuzi mentions they're bringing it up tonight. Kuzi was unfortunately never brought in on the model process, but he's also never been paid a cent since Virtuix started, similar to other staff, unbeknown to me. I also eventually had my manager start with the company, so he didn't need to be. And Ray says, I had a meeting with Aqua, let me poke her and get a group chat started. Also, you're not being fired, I love you. Skari sends another artist they're very interested in, and then sends a message asking again for the group chat. We are now in August, where Ray promises to set up the group chat tonight, and Skari writes, it was not set up that night. He also ignored my message about Riru, who I told him I had wanted to commission many times. Panda gave me permission to use the screenshot. Ray hadn't even reached out to ask for the group chat until August 3rd. So here's the emails between Panda and Ray, where Panda is stating, I would like to work on it, but I want to ask about the deadline because it was between August or September. Is that still the plan? And Ray says, sorry, it got lost in my inbox. The deadline is September. That being said, our rigor is super fast. So we can do late September as a deadline or really early October. And would it be possible to get a Discord chat with us three set up? You can add me at Rayflynn, and that was sent August 3rd. So yeah, the months and months of promises for a group chat did not even happen. So again, all these messages back and forth where Skari is still asking for the group chat, Ray is still making excuses and occasionally like talking about his health or excuses as to why he can't do it. And then Ray is again writing like, oh, I'm gonna get up soon just in a pool of my own sweat, so I'm gonna shower before I boot up, which is like a little trauma dumpy from the CEO to talent, right? Because Skari is now very concerned, sending a meme to get him to respond. A day later, again asking if he's okay. Over a week later, Ray finally just messages with something else, completely ignoring everything previous Skari had sent. Another excuse Ray would make, usually in voice calls about the group chat, was that Panda took a while to respond to DMs. I never had this issue with her. Ray frequently pushed the blame off to other people and was claiming she took forever in that last message because the group chat was made, and due to time zones, Panda didn't respond until next morning. We got the group chat and there were issues with Ray not paying on time. Panda DM'd me to ask about it. And here in the DMs, this is October 5th, Panda is DMing asking about payment, stating that it was due weeks ago, they haven't gotten it, and that they can't work on the model until payments have been made. And that they just wanted to inform Skari because deadlines have passed. And that it's been 6 weeks without payment. And Skari says, don't continue without payment. I'll see if I can talk to him about that today. I'm so sorry. And on the same day, Ray says, oh, just sorry, just in case Panda reached out. I've been catching up since my PSU died, so sending her the remaining payment for the model today. Ray started panicking once he found out Panda had reached out to me for payment. The call was a lot of excuses about Vshojo's accountant not paying Panda on time, but it was all over voice, unfortunately. He promised payment would be made that day. I resorted to reach out to Kuzi, Ray's roommate and business partner, again because Ray was ignoring me. So that was the message, and Ray did not pay that day or on time for that matter. So 3 days later, on October 8th, Panda bumps it with Skari again, stating, hey, Monday passed, still no payments, and I'll give one last deadline until Thursday. Otherwise, I'll have to assume that he cannot or doesn't want to pay, and I'll look into how I want to handle this. It's my full-time job and I invested so much time already, and I can't afford to keep waiting after almost 7 weeks. Skari apologizes, offers to call Ray again, and Panda says thank you and that they wrote Ray but is waiting for a response. And Skari says if it gets to be Thursday and he still hasn't paid, I'll pay it myself. So Skari sends that message from Panda over to Kuzi to again try to get a response. And Kuzi says thank you, I poked Ray again. He'll make sure to get it paid out of his own bank today. Thanks for letting me know. And with Ray, Skari had bumped it October 7th, October 8th, and Ray was stating, oh, message her handling this now. Been dealing with a fuck ton of water damage that my power went out and no water. We'll send proof of payment in the Skari chat when it's handled before end of day. Can we call? I'm gonna pay it out of pocket. And then Ray says got the money in, gonna pay Panda shortly when I finish cooking dinner. And then Skari says thank you, and then sorry to poke again. Are we almost good? Ray says sorry, in a meeting, I'll do it now. And then Skari says, hope the meeting's good. And then Ray says, sorry, just finished it. Had to screen share and didn't want my PayPal visible. And Skari writes, eventually she was paid, thank goodness. Other artists weren't as lucky. And another screenshot showcasing a promise for a new outfit. This was messaged November 27th. And by the way, like in order to pay your artist, your talent should not have to go through this many hoops to try to bump you. Like it shouldn't take this many people to reach out to you for you to do what you should have done, which is pay them. First, rigor issues. Once the model art was finished, Panda sent me the model files. Ray was doing one of his frequent disappearing acts at the time, so I had her send it directly to my email address. I held out to it, then a few days later I reached out to Kuzi asking for next steps. Ray claimed that he had my model files and sent them to the rigger, but Panda had never sent them to him. And Kuzi confirms that on October 30th, writing, hey Skari, spoke with Ray. Redacted already has your model files, so nothing else should be needed from you now. No cutting edits request at the time. And Skari says, holy crap, that was so fast. Did Panda send it to him too? And Kuzi says, yeah, Panda sent it over to Ray. I'll let you know when there's any updates. And on November 4th, Skari asked Panda if they sent the files to Ray. And Panda says, I just sent them to the email you gave me. Is there another I should have sent them to? And Skari says, oh, that's okay. And he's been out sick this week and I got confused because somebody said the files had already been sent to the rigger, but we are the only two who have the files. So I'm trying to figure that out. My amazing manager was able to clear stuff up, but the whole thing was incredibly strange. So Ray on November 16th states the estimated completion date is December 2nd. And then following up with Starforge about getting your PC out. And then on November 21st states, got an apology for the delay, first rigging update tomorrow. Now on November 30th, Skari bumps it, asking for some updates. Ray asked for a call. As per this conversation with the artist, Ray had never reached out to them. I kept unnamed for privacy reasons, but they can say something publicly if they wish. I did get permission to use the screenshot. So here are some DMs with Skari and the rigger, where Skari says, hey Redacted, my name's Skari. I used to be a talent at Virtuux. I'm sorry if this is strange, but I wanted to reach out to you to see if Ray had ever reached out to you about potentially getting my model rigged. Can't say too much, but I think he was lying to me about a few things, so I'm hoping to check in with you. The artist says, before when I was Redacted, Ray reached out to my member about their plan on creating a VTuber agency. Then they commissioned for a male model, and because Hero only accepts male model rigging, Redacted gave Ray recommendation for me to rig the female model. So there was confirmation the male model was done, but Ray wanted to commission a second male model and went Mia for a long time. For the female model, I haven't talked with Ray about anything just yet or getting paid or anything. Just news about words of recommendation from Redacted and that's it. Ray had told me that the rigger took $1,800 for my model rigging and ghosted him. He said he was going to file a PayPal dispute to try to get the money back. But per the conversation above, he had never even reached out, even though I was supposed to be debuting with the rest of the Saga group on December 6th. We were already 2 months past the expected debut date with Saga. Nothing was being completed and we kept getting pushed further and further back, not paying for rigging. After plans of the first rigger fell through, my model was supposed to have been started with Rafu, an amazing rigger who's worked with Virtuux before. Ray was going to ask him to rig the model in 3 days so we could try and make my December 6th debut day. And on December 1st, wow, that is a short turnover. Ray is asking if Skari is free to chat with Rafu and Skari says yep. The interview was Rafu asking me if I was okay to pay as much as he was asking because Ray was trying to get Rafu to fully rig my complex model in 3 days. There was a rush fee and he was concerned about me. I told Ray he was asking about my 1.0 because I was nervous that he would get mad at Rafu for talking finances with me. Rafu never ended up being paid. After talking with him and some of the other talents, after all of this came to light, turns out he hadn't been paid for another model Ray had calmed him for earlier this year too. And Rafu on December 2nd says, hey Skari, I don't know how to say this, but the down payment for the model still hasn't reached my account. And Skari said they were gonna poke Ray, so they did bump Ray and was asking about the down payments. And Skari Skari says, I will be trying to pay Rafu myself since Ray disappeared. Vshojo. Ray repeatedly told us that we had a partnership with the VTuber agency Vshojo. He would frequently talk about his communication with Gunrun, saying that they were best friends and that Gunrun owned 10% of Virtuux and that he owned a percentage of Vshojo. So again, screenshots with Ray name dropping Gunrun. Ray was claiming Gunrun to be Virtuux's new CMO. So Skari is asking about meetings with a new CMO, and Ray says, no, I don't think so. Gunrun basically said, wait until the new talent's in instinct and let him go. I was given permission from another talent to use this screenshot of their DMs. It looks as though anytime Ray talked about Vshojo with me, it was in voice call. So in the DMs, Ray sent that graphic again with the Vshojo logo and their logo, and the redacted talent is very, very excited. Overlays. Promises for new overlays. I have been very specific with both Ray and my manager that I was looking for animated overlays for my debut, since I usually spend 2 hours on my just chatting screen every stream. Ray ignored me and my manager was told it was out of budget. I do love the overlays I have for debut. I'm just sad that I wasn't listened to. If you saw the screenshots from above, you probably also saw where I had said that Iru's slots were opening and he had ignored me. And here on November 27th, Skari is asking for Riru again for next year, and Ray says, yeah, maybe for the new Alpha debut. When Ray found out that I was sad about the overlays, he started bringing it up every time we were in a call, making snide comments about how, quote, you never tell me when you don't like things, end quote, and that, quote, you wouldn't have liked your dream artist overlays if I got them for you either, end quote. He badmouthed me to both staff and other talents, making me out to be an awful talent when I had been trying to communicate with him this whole time. Alerts and a disappearance. One of the things promised for debut with alerts, and I think this might have been a turning point for the company. Saga and a few others were going to make a big batch commission with a Q artist, and Ray was in charge of reaching out to them. We were told that they would be a bit too late for debut just because of how big the batch is. And so this was Cruz with the big call out post asking people who want to work with this artist, and Ray is asking if Skari is missing any assets besides the rig and the alerts. When I had a debut prep meeting with Cruz on December 4th, he reached out to the artist to see how the commission was going and found out that the artist had never been contacted at all. Cruz and the other manager then reached out to Ray about the discrepancy, and then Ray performed his final disappearing act the next day. That December 5th tweet about them wanting to step away from content creation that I read to you in the beginning of this video. Watch-alongs. I found out recently that only one of Virtuux's watch-alongs, aside from the ones that talents paid for themselves, had been paid, myself included. Lots of watch-along promises. So again, you know, these are promises September 30th, where Ray is promising Fruit, Zentrea, Dokibird, Freem, Isa Corva, K9, Kuro, some big names for the watch-along. And Ray says, second, I also got you guys Dokibird, working on Matara. Week 1 has main mint for Aqua and Yana, and that's the only week she can do. Doki's locked in for the 6th, so that's 100%. New blob model. In order to sell plushies of my community's favorite blob model, Ray wanted me to get a new blob. I was happy with the idea. My current blob model doesn't have commercial rights as it's a pre-made, and I thought it would be a really fun thing to surprise my community with. So here's a screenshot where Ray says the blob model won't be ready for debut, but the artist said yes, and Skari is extremely excited. Ray actually did reach out to the artist, but he never responded to their inquiries and ended up ghosting them, causing the artist to cancel the commission. PC. Another thing I was promised as part of my debut was a new PC because my current one can't run newer games very well. A small thing compared to everything else going on, but it's there. So on August 21st, Ray was promising what they could expense for the PC. And then this was on November 16th. We read this one already as well, where Ray was talking about again, following up with Starforge about the PC. Miscellaneous ignoring. Kiri and the first wave of Saga were completely ignored when they debuted. I was constantly worried that I would miss them if I didn't constantly ask in our company's general chat because the dates were always getting pushed back and there were hardly any announcements or hype for them compared to Ray's own debut. And here again, so many examples of Skari just getting ghosted, ignored, which is so unprofessional to be ghosting your talent like this. Miscellaneous promises. So this was the contract message that was sent out on November 27, 2023. This is the same copy pasta that was also sent to Vixie, so I'm not going to read it again because it's the same information. So here, February 6th, Skari drops an artist interested in the comms. It's 1,500, so they're kind of like trying to price gauge. Ray says, oh, 1,500 is in budget, like up to 2,000 is in budget now. Talking about toggles, mushies on shoulder and head, hands outstretched, holding a mushie. And then Skari's asking about like a controller toggle, about how much it would be in replacement of a bald toggle. And Ray was like, I'll ask for both. I think your community should have both. And Ray is talking about how they're trying to sponsor and fully host an anime expo rave and that it might involve mythic talent. Ray is asking Skari, you know, talking about releasing an original and that they're promising to have their personal vocal coach them. Another promise about sponsoring raves at cons and a potential house for TwitchCon. So many promises. Promises for others. There are so many promises Ray made that he never delivered on. I have one promise here, but please look at other talents' documents for more info on their stuff. So this looks like a song that was sent, and Skari's again very, very excited. Final thoughts. I've been struggling to write this document for a while now. For an entire year, all of us suffered quietly, too afraid to talk to each other for fear of being fired and sued. I've never been very good with words, how to describe the mental toll all of this can put on a person. I can list out the broken promises, but the feelings are a lot harder. Please be kind to the talent and staff as we all work towards moving forward. And there's a big TLDR. People in the comments are showing their support for Skari and for everything that they went through. And then Skari made this follow-up post maybe like a couple hours later, writing, 1. Our contracts were not written by a real lawyer. 2. The CRA number listed on the contract was not a CRA number. 3. Virtuix is not a company, it's a business. 4. Ray was not legally allowed to hire outside of Canada. Contract wasn't real. And here's a message in Discord where Ray writes, a reminder that until contracts are officially dissolved, any public statements are in complete violation of the assigned contracts. This may potentially damage the reputation of any partners associated with our company and may result in legal proceedings toward Virtuix and you as an assigned talent under contract. I must insist any statements made providing screenshots and details of in-server conversations be deleted immediately. I will also add, it might be a little bit different because Ray is Canadian, so I don't know if legally things might work a little differently there. Sorry, just look how cute my cat is. All right, anyways, moving on. After that, at 6:25 a.m., Zion Zeep made their tweet writing, "Hi everyone, I want to make a statement since things are starting to be released by other talents. I was supposed to be part of Virtuix VE's next wave. It was supposed to be a space-themed wave. During my interview, Ray made unprofessional comments about other agencies, FaZe, Hololive, and Niji Sanji, which should have been my first red flag. I was genuinely blinded with how happy I was that an agency liked me. Ray had promised a new outfit or model, but my 3.0 was already in the works and more, and I was supposed to sign with them in September of this year. Unfortunately, after last month, I was doubting that it was even going to happen as Ray basically ghosted me after our interview. As of a few days ago, all of the talents have left the agency based off treatment from Ray. I want to say that I'm heartbroken about this entire situation and also mortified that the talents were treated in the way they were. I'm also equally as sad that the artists in the situation were treated this way. They have put a lot of love and work into Virtuix and are the backbone of our community. I don't have much else to say other than please support the talents that went through months of ghosting and unfulfilled promises. Their stories, who have been posted, will be linked below." And Zion adds, "I want to clear up some misconceptions since people think that we're tricked into joining based off certain connections to other agencies. I cannot speak for others, but I was never told about any connections, only raised distaste for Niji, Hollow, and FaZe and how he wanted to create a company that supported their talents and wasn't a black company," in quotes. "I joined the agency because I wanted to have support to better my content and to be able to do cool projects, not to, quote, make it big, end quote, as somebody had implied." By the way, I really want to emphasize again that it is not the fault of the VTubers creators who get signed into these agencies, right? These people like Ray are good at scamming. They come through and they will sing you lots of praises. They will tell you things you want to hear. They'll say things like, "Hey, you know this project that you really want to do, but you just lack the funds or the direction or whatever. You need some guidance. I will give that to you. I will give all of that to you. I will make all of your dreams come true. I am a good person." And these types of people, they present to you a front, a very well put together front that makes them seem like a very genuine, kind, and thoughtful person. That is how people fall for it. If they come out the gate, "Hey man, so I'm gonna like steal all your money and like make a fake VTuber agency," nobody would sign with them. That duh, right? Like there's a saying, right, where if you put a frog in boiling water, the frog's gonna jump out. But if you put the frog in cold water and slowly turn up the heat, the frog wouldn't realize it. That's how these scammers get all these creators under them. Because they sing you a song that sounds so good, all these promises, and these are things that, again, like, they show you such a good side of them that it's very reasonable to believe them. I don't want anybody faulting any of these creators involved in this. The person that we should be faulting is Ray, who had led on so many people, spun so many lies knowingly. You don't spin this many lies without realizing that you're full of shit and not paying a crap ton of people. It is not the VTubers at fault whatsoever. So at 8 a.m. in the morning, Mukya, I really hope I'm reading their name right, writes, "Announcement. I will not be saying more here, but if you want further information, I will do my best to answer via Twitter DMs." And it's a graphic that reads, "Announcement, and this is not a graduation. Dear Sweetlings, it has not been long since I debuted as part of Virtuix VE as a member of their first wave. However, effective immediately, I will be parting ways with the business. Today, December 12th, 2024, is the last day I will be tied to the company as one of their talents. When I was contacted to join Virtuix VE in the early spring of 2023, many promises were made. Promises of support, new opportunities, connections, and resources I would have otherwise not been able to achieve on my own. However, as the debut got pushed back time and time again, multiple commitments were never fulfilled or simply were non-existent. Communication was lacking to the point where it'd be weeks before I had an update on anything. Even today, well after debut, there have been branches of said contract as being unfulfilled. These challenges proved to be a greater hindrance to my progress as a content creator when initially agreeing to the partnership. I'd like to kindly thank those that supported me in these rough endeavor, and to those I met while being a part of the agency. Everyone has been so supportive, kind, and welcoming since we all first met, and I will continue to support those that have come into my life through this partnership as they have supported me. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I will be continuing as an independent VTuber from today on as Mukia VT and carry on later this week as usual. I'm committed to making my channel a place of comfort and entertainment for those who travel from their own world in search of a place to rest their feet and lay their heads down upon a welcoming lap. Through this small change, I hope it will lead to brighter opportunities and a better tomorrow. Thank you everyone for your patience with me while I take this next step in my journey. Love, Mukia. Lulovina writes, this ain't a graduation, don't worry, but things need to be said. Announcement. Hello, my dear generates and fellow creators. I'm here to just make a quick message. I'm going to be parting ways with Virtuix VE as of December 12, 2024. While this was a business I believed in and many others did as well, it seemed to at some point slip through the cracks, leading to delays in production, lost promises, and continuous internal issues. I am thankful for everyone who has joined me and supported me through this time. I also am so thankful to the people I met during my time here and only wish the best towards all of my fellow talents. I'm going to continue as an independent creator as Luluvina. I am only driven more than anything now and am looking forward to everything I've been working on and more. The warehouse stays open. Luluvina. Asa Mitsuki writes, screenshot a Google Doc as the announcement, you have my respect. And Lulu says, be pros here. And I think that's really funny. Apollo Alto put out their document writing, I would like to stress that this announcement is not a notice of graduation. And again, so Apollo and the two previous VTubers we saw all debuted with Instinct in Wave 1. The graphic reads, announcement, it's not a graduation. Hey everybody, I'm going to be keeping this short and bittersweet. It has been a little while now since I first joined Virtuix, September 2023. A lot has happened in that time and I'm thankful to most of the people that I got to meet and work with along the way. Today, December 12, 2024, is the end of this chapter and will be the last day in which I associate with the business. As was the case with others within the group, I came to Virtuix under the expectation of promises of support, opportunities, and resources that I would not have access to as an indie creator, most of which never manifested, most of which it's possible never existed or were never intended to be carried out in the first place. While there have been some positives during the year, even origins of their circumstances were not as advertised. This lack of support paired with other issues, specifically non-payment of third parties, eventually became a greater obstacle to my continued growth and happiness within this space. I can't appreciate enough everybody who has supported me up until this point and who will hopefully continue to hang out going forward. This includes fellow former talents and staff who have been so helpful during this time. I wish to express solidarity with everyone involved through this entire series of events. I would also like to recognize that there are others involved who sacrificed more and who are more deeply hurt by this than I was. My plan is to continue as an independent VTuber and to try and foster a place where as many people as possible can have a good time. I apologize for my long recent absences and hope to be able to come out of the other side of this more determined and ready to resume activities with a positive mindset. What doesn't kill us, make us stronger. There is still plenty of good in people, even if sometimes it can be hard to find it in the moment. Don't lose hope in people. Many thanks, Apollo Alto. I need a coffee and a morning shower. This all feels like a weight off our collective shoulders. Brave Okami comments, dang, I'm sorry that happened. Taking chances with agencies and such is a big hit or miss. Regardless, happy to see you go indie again and hopefully bounce right back into the groove of fun times. Alto replies, I suppose there is little reward without some risk. I had known Ray since 2022, so it was my hope that his intent was legitimate. Maybe at some point early on it was, but it became clearer as time went on that there was no real there. I'm happy to have met everyone that I did, and I'm doing my best to focus on the good times. And Brave Okami replies, you got us Apollo to help you get on your feet with good vibes. One thing I'm grateful for the VTube community is we help one another. I'm happy I met you. So then at 8:11 a.m., Corey Ojo puts out their document writing, thank you all for your support. I'm happy to be an indie VTuber. We'll try and chat about what I can on stream tonight. Take care. Thanks for reading. Announcement. This is not a graduation. And on a completely unrelated note, this is a very, very pretty graphic. Yohalo Snow, Syrup, and fellow creators. As of today, December 12th, I am announcing my departure from an agency, Virtuix VE. I recently debuted with the agency on November 22nd as a member of the Saga Wave. However, I have been signed onto Virtuix much longer than that. In the past month, myself and my fellow Virtuix talents have uncovered many unfortunate aspects of the company. We were promised many things, whether they be partnerships, collaborations, watch-along opportunities, funding, etc. Unfortunately, all of it was a complete and utter failure. Myself and many of the talents were given false information, which led us to make decisions we may not have in any other situation. I heard all my fellow talent stories. There are some that are simply heartbreaking. I consider myself very lucky to not have as harsh of grievances as them. I will continue to support their journeys as independents, and I wish everyone nothing but the best. I will continue as an independent VTuber. If there's anything that I have learned in the past year, it is this. You don't need an agency. Do not let the thought of an agency can give me more support and backing stop you from improving what should be your first and foremost priority. Please let my accomplishments with the baseball collaboration and the NASCAR driver partnership be a testament to this. No agency assisted me in getting these projects. It was my own hard work as an independent, as a person whose main goal has become let's push the boundaries of where VTubers can go IRL. Trust yourself, give yourself more credit, and find your own excitement and love for what you do. No one, no agency should ever hold things over your head. You are the only one that should have control over your own happiness. I'm excited for what's next in my VTuber journey, and I'm glad to be free from such a toxic situation. Thank you for your kindness, support, and most of all, patience with me as I navigate this strange world of VTubing. Thank you and see you soon. Corey had put out a second tweet writing, before I sleep, I just want to reiterate my final point. No one, no agency should ever hold things over your head with bad intent. You are the only one who should be in control of your own happiness always. The indie VTubing landscape is changing for the better. You got this. This is the last I will say about the matter for now. I simply ask for your support for both myself and my fellow talents, which many of you have already graciously given. I'm grateful for everything that I've learned, and I'm glad to be solidifying my belief in myself as an indie VTuber. And I completely agree with this statement whatsoever. Your happiness is your prerogative and you should be in full control over that. And if other people start pulling up and try interfering with your happiness in any way, yeet them out. 8:51 a.m. Synth AI writes, I am deeply moved by everyone's responses towards the agency I was formerly in. I'm filled with a lot of emotion as my termination was wrongful and personally targeted. I will be coming out with my official statement about the company when I return from my vacation. My heart goes out to all the talents and artists who have been wronged and mistreated. Know you all have my support. So yeah, as of filming, it was started like December 13th, but now we're at 4 a.m. December 14th. So as of now, Synth has not put out their document yet, but when it does come out, I will link it in the comment section down below. So now we have a tweet put out by RubyCon at 8:56 a.m. RubyCon is an VTuber and an editor. If y'all are curious, here's how Ray was apparently hospitalized when he had to pay a month-old invoice. So Ruby DM, yo Ray, just a heads up, I'm sending another invoice for the October batch. If you can pay both that and the one before so I can start working on the clips, that'd be greatly appreciated. So request sent for $100 and $80. Should be these two. And Ray says, will do, sorry. So that message was on October 22nd, and Ruby asks, did you pay it? And Ray says, I will shortly. Sorry, got back from the hospital late this morning. Ruby apologizes for rushing, and Ray says, no, you're totally in the right. Been a rough few weeks health-wise, and it's finally hit a peak. Haven't even invoiced talents for their revenue share yet. Will get it paid shortly. Sorry. On October 23rd, Ruby bumps it again, asking if everything is okay, and Ray is asking for the invoices again, and that it hasn't been a good day. So Ruby canceled the invoices, sent one invoice to make it easier, right? And is stating that they'd appreciate it if it could be played sooner. October 24th, no update. More screenshots. October 25th, Ruby bumps it again. Hey, is everything okay? I really need the payment before the 28th. Ray says, hi Ruby, sorry, the last few days haven't been great health-wise and I've been in the hospital multiple times. I'll get it handled today. Hey, is it okay? Just checking in again. And that was on the 26th. On the 27th, Ruby bumps it again and Ray was like, sorry, I just woke up, been in the hospital the last 2 days. And Ruby says, received, sorry to keep bothering you while you're in the hospital, just that it's a really urgent case on my end as well. Maybe I'm a little cynical here, but if you're good enough to be DMing people on Twitter, you are good enough to send a payment because PayPal mobile, it's like you get the invoice, you click the invoice in the email. Maybe if they didn't send the email, it hits in your actual PayPal, right? You look at it and then you type in the number and then you hit send. If you're healthy enough at that moment to be DMing people on Twitter, right, where you're DMing Ruby, you can click 2 buttons to pay them. So this is so unfair. Ruby writes, I got paid exactly 3 times in total, and he always had some excuse for every occasion. Worst client I ever had. So now we have Jun, who goes by the Twitter handle Junjo-kun. My experience with Ray Flynn and Virtuix VE. My personal experience as a manager for Virtuix. And this was a co-retweet to Vixie's post. So Jun writes, my experience with Ray Flynn and Virtuix VE. My heart goes out to the people that recently came out with their truths about Ray and his company. Please keep your head up high. I applaud your courage and wish you the best for the future. This may come as a surprise to a lot of you, but I was involved with Ray and Virtuix VE in 2023. Ray had promised me a position as a full-time talent manager in his upcoming agency, Virtuix. After some interviews and some communication, he accepted my rate and even introduced me to 2 individual talents. I even had started making plans with these talents and Ray logging down my hours for services. After Ray textually hired me as a talent manager, he started promising that the contract would be ready to sign within a few weeks. Weeks became months. I was continuously promised textually as well as verbally this position without delivering the contract. At this time, I had just left a separate, abusive agency. My health had also started getting worse, and this job would have been ultimately life-changing. With the salary, I would have been able to first sustain myself as a disabled person, but also sponsor my now wife in Canada. Ray was very aware of my health and even agreed to me terminating my then current contracts to transition as a manager under Virtuix. I started lessening my workload. I was definitely naive then, but I was honestly very desperate. I should not have terminated any contract without Ray signing with me. His verbal and textual promises, as well as the fact that he was a mutual friend with someone I was close to, made me trust him. After 2 or 3 months of waiting for the contract, Ray started to ghost me on Discord and Twitter for about a week. I had a very bad feeling, and I was right. He then fired me. The reason being he wanted a more renowned talent manager, which could be understandable. I was definitely hurt that my skills and experience had not been appreciated, of course, but I wanted to remain positive and understanding. At that point, though, Ray had promised me full-time management work for over 2 months, agreed for me to terminate my past contracts, and had let me do some work with talents as well as him. We agreed that I would send him an invoice for the work I had done and that he would pay me for it. I invoiced him for the hours I had done and a fee for the contracts I had to terminate and the time I had to remain unemployed due to his promises. He then ghosted me again, and I honestly fell into a very deep depression. As a disabled person, the loss of this opportunity felt like my one and only chance at the time to be an independent person that can support his loved ones. My mental health triggered a lot of my chronic physical issues, and I became very isolated and ill. My issues got worse. I do not blame him solely for this, but it was definitely a big factor. My now wife had to support me and nurse me back to health until October 2023, when I was able to get back on my feet and find new talents of my own. Ray has not paid me a single cent for the work I've done, let alone pay me for the work I lost for him. Since then, I have heard through the grapevine that he has spread different misinformation about me and my ex-talents, such as painting me as a liar and a money-hungry person. I cleared up what I could to the people that let me know, but have not publicly, as I heavily dislike causing trouble for the people around me. There's also evidence of him using me as a ploy to get closer to one of my ex-talents, which I will not share unless I need to. I'm very distraught that he has continued to lie after I last spoke to him. If you have any questions, please feel free to DM me. I can also include screenshots if needed. That is so fucked up, leading on people for so long. And Fiji VT writes, Jun, I am so sorry. You are literally the best manager and one of the most kind and hardworking people I've gotten to know, and it's insane to me how horrible you've been treated by companies. I hope you're doing okay. Please note that I'm always here for you and Ghosty. And Jun writes, it was literally for this company that I terminated our contract. Biggest regret. I love you, Fiji. Thank you so much. And Fiji writes, that's okay. It seemed like an amazing opportunity at the time, so I totally understand. I was so excited for you. And honestly, I would work with you when I'm financially stable again, lol. In a heart, you were an amazing manager. I love you too, June. And Jun sobs, cries, pukes. You have no idea how much this means to me. Fiji, one of my biggest inspirations. So we have a tweet coming out from Aqua, writing, this is not a graduation. To my lambs, my friends and fellow creators, today as of December 12th, 2024, I am announcing my decision to part ways with Virtuix. I very recently debuted under the agency on November 22nd as a member of their saga wave, but this decision comes after a year of being in communication with Virtuix and being part of this agency. I initially seeked out an agency to be part of in order to receive various forms of support for my activities and projects. And when I initially signed into Virtuix, I was promised things such as support, opportunities, and various forms of assets that I would not have been able to access to as an independent VTuber. I was looking forward to a bright future with Virtuix, excited to be able to start projects I haven't been able to with my limited resources as an indie. I wholeheartedly trusted the agency would deliver on its promises and poured a whole year of my time and effort into it, as did our managers and my fellow talents. However, as time progressed, it became clear to me that many of these assurances and promises would be significantly delayed. Many never fulfilled, while some repeatedly promised opportunities were entirely non-existent from the very beginning. This continued failure to deliver on promises time and time again, the complete lack of communication, as well as the failure to fulfill multiple points of the contract to this day has hindered my growth as a creator and put immense stress on myself. I want to express my sincere gratitude to those who have supported me throughout this short but tumultuous chapter of my career and the wonderful people I've met through the agency whose kind support throughout this year I am endlessly thankful for. Your unwavering support, patience, and kindness has been a source of motivation and strength throughout this entire journey. To my fellow talents and managers, I cannot thank you enough for all of the work you've done, and I wish everyone nothing but the very best moving forward. I will be continuing with my content creator journey as independent VTuber Aqua and Aqua once again. I would like to sincerely apologize for cancellations, delays, and inconveniences caused as I navigate through the aftermath of this chapter and look forward to a new one. Thank you for your support, Lab mates. Let's continue to create amazing things together. Aqua adds, I want to apologize to anyone who might have trusted and worked with Virtuix due to my affiliation. I truly and wholeheartedly believe this agency and trusted my long cultivated community and deeply personal brand to it. I feel so incredibly shamed and devastated. I will not be releasing a document myself, but I will be quote retweeting my fellow ex-talents and their documented experiences below. Please give them your love and support, as many of them had a much harder time than I with this agency. Next up at 11:55 a.m. on December 12th, we have a tweet from ink_moonarts who goes by Inky, writing, my experience working at Virtuix VE and Rayflin. I never thought I'd have to make a post like this, but there's a first for everything, right? The document reads, Inky's experience with Virtuix VE and Rayflin as a CEO. Initial contact and recruitment. I met Ray through one of the talents since they were interested in me being their character designer on September 10th, 2023. I officially joined the company February 6th, 2024 by signing a contract. Unpaid commissions. Ray owes me about $4,000 total. I haven't been paid by him for over a year since his last payment on September 11th, 2023, which was the only payment I have gotten from him when the talent wanted me to make a rough sheet. I've worked a total of 10 pieces since I have met Ray. I have completed 7 pieces before their due dates or no deadline was given, whereas the rest of the 3 pieces were in concept or scrapped. I would work on the projects on average 4 to 6 hours at a time, 5 days a week. Prior to the contract, he has already commissioned me to do projects and has not paid me. I have given him multiple renders, but he would either say excuses such as being in surgery, house being flooded, and being sick, or avoid and change the topic. And by the way, before I continue reading, I once again want to emphasize this is not the artist's fault. In these situations that I'm reading to you where the creative did not get paid in the process, it is not the creative's fault, okay? I have been in situations myself as a content creator where companies would approach me for sponsorships. You know, there would be a contract in place that would state I would make a video for you and you would pay me. I feel like all of us at some point have been scammed. And there's been cases where I've had very bad experiences with companies because I trusted them. We had the contract, didn't get paid, or I'm like pulling tooth and nail. It's not the creator's fault. It is on the other person who didn't pay. So I don't want to hear any blaming in the comments. I just wanted to interject that. Power imbalance. In the beginning, we got friendly and developed a close friendship. He would always come to me when something happened, which in the beginning was 2 to 3 times a week and vent. Most of the conversations we had was him gossiping and venting to me about the talents, his roommates, our co-CEO of the virtual VE, and other big and small agencies. I lent an ear and justified his feelings in my head, but in the back of my mind, I felt it was wrong. I always felt conflicted because he was my friend and got me a job opportunity in this agency. Ray was my boss and I looked up to him for his ambition and determination to start up an agency. I should have taken the payment up front, but I believe that he was my friend, and since he was my boss, that eventually I would be paid soon. I really thought the harder I worked, then he would eventually pay me. And this is so sad. That's the thing, again, breaks my heart because these scammers always take advantage of kind people. It is always the kind people that get fucked over. Personal testimony anecdotes. Ray would indirectly say talents were decently sized streamers and busy for whatever reason, like streaming or projects they were doing at the time. Hearing that made me feel burdened when it came to interactions with talents, which have prevented me from creating a relationship with them. The one talent I talked to was the one that introduced me to Ray. I felt like he controlled my creativity to his own advantage. For example, he told me that he wanted a redesign, but recently I found out he was also asking another artist the same as well at the same time. Evidence of Ray telling me that he would pay me. So DMs from Ray on August 21st, 2024. Ray writing, hey, in the morning, I need some emergency comms done. Can't pay you before you even start. And Inky says, oh yeah, what's up? And it was for Synth's music video. And then here's another example, February 15th. First wave of projects will be sent your way soon. It'll be a nice paycheck. Another example, on October 14th, Ray saying, I'll send payment tomorrow, wise to bank account. Maybe like wire. And then anyway, can I send you payment for the strays so I can get that for tomorrow's subathon? And Inky is just stating, oh, just PayPal it over. And then Ray was like, I will for sure for this one. What did we say again? 65. And then on October 23rd, Ray presented another idea of, oh, can you do a graffiti style? If you think you can do it, we can do a call and talk it over and then I can send you payment right away. Another one. Ray says, hey, Inky, just an update. And this is on September 22nd, 2024. You'll be receiving your first half of payment for merch on the 30th when I'm back, so make sure your bank account and details are all set up. That way, PayPal doesn't have an excuse. Otherwise, I'm happy to pay with Wise anyways. And then October 15th, Ray says also payment for those is coming soon for the strays. Sorry, just hit with a ton of shit. Here is the invoice that I sent him that are not paid through PayPal. Everything after that, I requested payment to be sent to my bank account. So here, 400 euros on August 24th. Inky writes, led me to distrust others in the company. At the time that I had started working with his business, he would begin to spread rumors and lies about our co-CEO. such as him not paying rent, not doing his job that he was being paid to do, or being an overall liability for the agency. I believed him for a long time and didn't trust our co-CEO until everything came to light. In the end, he was paying for his rent and never had a contract with the agency, and therefore wasn't even being paid to begin with. Ray would also spread misinformation about the talents in the agency, such as not listening to him giving the money, or just him complaining about them being annoying by asking for updates, etc. And the co-CEO is referencing Kuzi, who was Ray's roommate. False promises. He told me that I would be a VTuber as Virtuex's mascot Riri. He offered to give me a PC from Starforge. He offered to give me Gamersub products. Told me that I'm going to be Virtuex's merch artist. Ray had made a lot of promises to me, some larger than others, but still all broken in the end. I put too much faith in him and too much trust. I should have kept things less personal and more professional when it comes to a boss and employee setting, but no boundaries were set, so I thought everything was fine. Going forward, the situation has brought me a lot of stress, pain, and hurt. I feel bad for all the talents involved who have now grown to be very good friends of mine. I feel bad for those who haven't been paid yet, just like me, and hope that anybody involved can face a little. We'll just have to see what the future holds. Thank you for reading, and I'll be continuing my art journey separate from any agency. And I am so sorry to hear that. Ray had scammed them out of $4K. So Laura Lilac put out their statement on 12:50 p.m. So now that the talents, management, and artists who have been unpaid are coming out and sharing their experiences and stories regarding the former CEO of Virtuix, I'll share mine, albeit briefly. My relationship with Ray, while friendly, was strictly professional, speaking only once or twice with him regarding sponsorships and needing advice from management with his company, of which I've come to find many things were untrue involving his company. However, I have discovered recently from several creators kindly reaching out that he has not only been defaming me and slandering my image, but also has been using my kindness as a way to slander others, such as his company's talents. My amazing V siblings, both Rig and Art, as well as other creators I do not know personally or know very little about. I am disgusted and deeply saddened that he would use my name to hurt others of whom I do not know, but also adore and respect in the VTubing space. My entire belief is to bring others up, not down, and the idea of somebody trying to use that for their personal advantage upsets me greatly. If you're one of the people he or his associates hurt using my name, I'm so sorry. Please know that I would never say the things he claimed. I hope all those affected by his poor and selfish actions can heal. Know that I'm always here to support you. Thank you for reading. Shiro says, you are too kind. I wish the best for you and sorry you were dragged into all of this. And Lorelai says, Ray told me he'd reach out to y'all on my behalf for collabs, etc. He obviously did not do that. If either you or any of the former Virtuix staff talent would like to be friends or play a game sometime, I would love to do so. Next up, we have Yumemi Dreams writing my experience with Virtuix VE. It takes too much energy to dwell on negative feelings. I'm just glad everyone is free. Let's keep standing up for ourselves and our friends, bettering ourselves each day. Yumemi writes, please do not send any hate to the respective parties. You may certainly grab popcorn for this reading. This is my own experience. I will link other people's experiences and Ryu's statement when she's ready. TLDR, Yumemi got fired because she stood up for her friend who wasn't getting paid. Yumemi's experience. Almost a year ago, in late December 2023, I was signed into a startup agency called Virtuix VE under Ray, and as of August 27, 2024, I was terminated because I wanted my manager friend Ryu Mato to be paid for their work. She had gone unpaid, and our announcement wave Spark was ghosted for 2 months. The talents of our wave came together at the end of June to write up our concerns regarding our upcoming debut that was scheduled for late July 2024. Ryu sent our concerns June 26, however, our concerns went unanswered by Ray, and we were left without any communication for at least 2 months. So, again on June 26, Rio sent, hello Ray, here are some updates requested within Spark. Upon talking with talents, there's been many anxieties and stresses arising from the lack of communication from this company. I as well. So point number 1, Ryu is asking for updates of our situations with the meetings and wanting more clarity about debut date, budgets, and overall timelines and plans in the company. Getting priority straight due to new lawsuits, the CMO coming in, and Yume's artist not being paid. Again, another point of asking for payments and clarifying and having realistic debut deadlines and dates. Wanting a change in the way the artists are chosen because it feels a bit frustrating. Asking for clarification if things are being pushed back, asking for dates and timelines, and asking for clarity of job description between me, which is Riru, Ray, and Kuzi. So if you have problems, who do you go for? And that the talents are really stressed out. I reached out to another friend in Saga asking if they had any updates about my wave or from Ray. They said they had contact with him but haven't heard any updates. I let them know of our situation with the intention to protect our talent's mental well-being. This will be important for later. I tried to stand up for Riru by asking for more support from our CEO, but was left unanswered as well. On August 27th, Riru decided it was time she pinged everyone on that day on our server. I reacted with a pray emoji. It was amazing to see the message getting deleted in real time, and we both got kicked from the server shortly after with a final termination notice from Ray. Here is our final termination notice after no contact. And this is on August 27th, where it reads, from Ray, hi Riru and Yumemi, I was going to update you both on the situation tomorrow as I was speaking and going through the proper channels prior to taking actions. However, your recent actions, including multiple inappropriate messages to staff and talent, the coercing of a talent to make a group DM with their wave with concerns exclusive to you, as well as slander and inappropriate conduct in private with Spark that talents in your charge made me aware of and brought me concerns about, and that last message. We have decided to part ways with both Yumemi Dreams as well as Riru Matu. I would like you to rest assured that despite your concerns, other talents as Redacted might have told you after you coerced Redacted into making a group chat with Redacted Wave, we're already made aware of this decision, and also we're being taken care of and communicating with their new manager as well as myself. Although work was not completed, nor did some of your talents even know they had a manager for a month's period due to lack of interaction. Wow, look at Ray blaming Riru for that. I'm more than happy to dissolve your invoice and completely cut contact with you both. A reminder that your NDA still stands and survives the termination of your agreement, and any interactions, communications, and happenings with Virtuix as well as in our server and with our staff and partners is to remain confidential or legal action may be taken. Cheers, Ray. And by the way, it is crazy with that legal threatening at the end. Yumemi writes, for fun, here's my final reply. I was going for a kill them with kindness tone. Dear Ray, I was super excited to be part of this budding agency. I wanted to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of Virtuix. Although we couldn't go through it together, I still had lots of fun. I made lovely friends along the way and really wish the best for everyone going forward. I'm not somebody that holds any grudges. I think that negative emotions aren't something I would ever focus on, and I really wish that everyone can strive to be the best they can be. I hope you take everyone's dreams and cherish their talents and strengths. We pour so much of your creativity to make beautiful things. I do encourage you both to take care as leaders in Virtuix. Lastly, I'll keep wishing you guys all the beautiful dreams and fangirl over Virtuix's growth. Best regards, Yumemi. My own feelings on the matter. Everyone who was part of this was promised a fulfillment of beautiful dreams. He could not keep his promises and was dishonest about the outcomes. Instead of owning up and taking leadership of the consequences, this became a repetition of behavior until the truth finally came out. I hope everyone can learn something. I am not someone who holds onto a resentment, although I understand that we do have some battle scars. I will continue to be true to myself and stand up for what is right and fair. I don't have any hard feelings on anyone involved. I am simply disappointed at the immaturity of Ray's actions. Thank you to anyone who reached out after the downfall. I hope misunderstandings on Riru's character can be resolved. She was the only one who poured her heart out to make our talent successful. She was treated unfairly and slandered after we got terminated. Lastly, I'm so thankful to all the friends who I met through this experience, and I hope that we all can continue with new passion to drive to keep bettering ourselves every single day. Much love and beautiful dreams to you all. Sincerely, Yumemi. I think their name reads Meng Mei in Chinese, but I could be wrong. My Chinese reading is quite poor. I'm once again so sorry for what they had gone through. And we're a little bit out of chronological order here, but I'm gonna read Riru's statement next because it ties into what Yumemi was talking about, even though Riru's statement was actually posted December 13th. So Riru writes, it took a bit for me to write everything. I'm not very good with words, but I hope you listen to my story. My experience with Virtuix VE. This is a story of Riru's experience with virtual VE. I thought of writing something more professional and more in line with the documentation culture for these things. However, I want to write something that is from my point of view with my emotions and feelings. Sorry if it's a little wordy. For those who don't know me, hello. My name is Riru and I'm an artist VTuber who has been in the VTuber scene for quite a while now. I like to draw cute girls and cute art. I may seem nice, but when someone messes with my friends, I go raw. And they've linked Yumemi's document. At the beginning of this year, I was working at a real corporate office job in an entertainment company and was quite unhappy with my time there. I wanted to pursue art as my main job, but still wanted some sort of stable income. That's when I found out their Virtuix was hiring for a part-time management position. Knowing my friend Yumemi was part of their second wave, I was excited to start on my new journey as a part-time manager and full-time artist. I passed the interview and I accepted the offer as a manager and was waiting to be onboarded around February. Thinking that I will start my job at Virtuix around that time, I ended my corporate office work early. However, communications with Ray were a bit lackluster, and the onboarding contract ended up being April 1st for me to start. I didn't think much of it at the time, since it was nice to take a break from work for a month or so. And they attached a snippet of their contract, where it states April 1st is the effective date. I joined their staff and talent server at the end of January to get to know my talents, but made it clear I will not start doing official work for them until the start of my contract. This information is pretty vital. Working at Virtuix before official onboarding. Even though I said I wouldn't work until April, I ended up still trying to help Spark, the second generation under my management, with their debut prep. I saw that talents were lost on what to do, and Ray gave them no directions or guidance. I popped in from time to time to help the gen make tracking sheets for their debut, make to-do lists for their lore videos, and everything I can do at the time to help their debut go smoothly. This was around January through March. With no clear communications from Ray, I let them know I officially start in April, so giving guidance was the best I can do. My official onboarding was delayed again due to Ray's schedule. We were set to start April 1st and have a meeting on what my responsibilities were. And here's an April 1st message from Ray, with a mention of a lawsuit that would push back the start date by another week. Ray was fixated on a certain past talent getting terminated and was preparing for a lawsuit for the duration of my time talking to him. So April 4th, hey, so we're investigating one of the Spark talents right now. They've been very fishy and were even super fishy in the meeting. He updates me about his issues with some people within Spark. This led to Kaz Spella's termination. Ray believed Kaz leaked legal information to the public somewhere and was trying to find a way to terminate him. Upon talking to Kaz afterwards and a few other parties, we found out there was no lawsuit in the first place with anybody. Ray never had a real lawyer and was faking multiple lawsuits to staff and talent. The timeline of my official onboarding got delayed furthermore. I felt bad that the talents are being neglected, so I tried my best to answer any questions or help with any assets they needed to be on track of for their supposed debut in May. So on April 8th, Ray pushed it back again. Some talks about health, his gallbladder. Riru bumps it on April 11th, asking about the onboarding process. And April 15th, Ray gets back stating, oh, I thought I answered you. We'll get you onboarded this week. And Riru is asking for a date. Now, on the 19th, Ray has another excuse with another emergency about a home break-in. And then Ray is talking that they're going to be paying Riru like normal from the 15th to the 30th. Riru writes, with the promise of payment, I was comfortable helping out the talents as best as I could with the limited knowledge I had about the plans and company. There was no budget, roadmap, anything I could work with, and talk with talents on what they would like to do for this duration. Working with Virtuix onboarded. I was officially onboarded on April 22nd, 2024, and was given a management email address and some info about the debut. We didn't really go over anything listed on the screenshot below. It was mostly him ranting about his lawsuit with multiple talents. And on April 22nd, here's the things that Ray provided: email setup, Google Doc tracker, preferred workspace management tool, talent project approval process, and some other points as well. And input about Kaz Spella. During this call, there was a talk that he was going to organize a Trello account for management to get everything started for the talents. With the project tracker and guidelines I made for them, the general asset list and ideas of the debut were mostly done around this time, I believe. It's been a while, so the details were a bit fuzzy. I cannot share any solid work I've done since I have to protect my talent's privacy. Even though there were a lot of red flags already, the biggest one was payment. I tried to be patient with him since there was a lot going on, or so I thought, and he was trying his best trying to figure out how to process bank payments. I was supposed to get paid bi-weekly, every 15th and 30th of the month as written on the contract. A month went by and there was zero payment. I sent multiple messages figuring out options. So May 14th, Riru was bumping, I haven't gotten anything, should I be worried? And asking about PayPal. Ray was stating, let me call the bank tomorrow to cancel it, probably regarding the transaction. So Riru bumps it 2 days later and then 2 days after that. And Ray replies to the May 18th message with some excuse about burnouts and is promising a payment tonight. Then May 20th, Riru bumps it again. Ray gives another excuse about being in LA and some VTuber CEO stuff. Riru writes, Ray said he was too busy to pay me from having multiple meetings with CEOs. I met with some of those CEOs and staff during Offkai, and when I asked about Virtuix, they had no idea who we were. I tried my best to work with the talents as best as I can, but with zero payments, I made a clear boundary that I will not continue working with them until I was paid. So on the 28th of May, Riru is setting that boundary, and Ray says that he understands. So finally, Ray sent the payment for $1,200 for 2 paychecks, and Riru writes, I was finally paid via his personal account through PayPal for the months of April and May. Some funds were still lacking, but with debut frustrations piling up, I worked for the talents during June. He proceeded to miss payments once again. So now we have June 23rd, Riru is asking for payments, and Ray says payments coming this morning, my bad. During this time, I finished everything I possibly can as a manager, creating marketing decks, reaching out to artists and mixers for availability, etc. But nothing can be made without funds. Most model artists were unpaid for, and none of the debut assets were also paid. We were all just waiting on Ray to figure out a budget and payment. However, ever since June 24th, he completely started to ghost me and Spark members. With building concerns with talent and staff, I decided to write this in the server to get things moving. So that was the set of screenshots that we read in Umemi's document, and Riru writes, no replies from Ray from this. He was just completely Mia. All I could do for the talents was to chat and voice their frustrations with them. Me and Umemi also made efforts to let future generations know that their debut will get delayed because of lack of communication and budget. At this point, I was also suspicious about his lies being partnered with Vshojo and other companies. The CMO mentioned in the screenshot above was supposed to be staff from Vshojo. With Ray nowhere to be seen, I talked with other staff members and found out they were also not getting paid. With months going by with zero communications or pay, I made the last resort of pinging everyone in the work channel to voice my concerns. So this was on August 27th, and Riru wrote, "Hello everyone. I wanted to bring some issues I've been having with Ray and VirtuX VE. I apologize for the public manner of this statement, but as Ray has been completely uncommunicative, I feel I have no other option than to use this channel. First and foremost, Ray, please pay me for the services rendered during the month of June. Ray and VirtuX VE have never made a payment on time for my contract as staff member, and unfortunately other staff members have experienced the same issue. The payment for the month of June has not been fulfilled, and Ray has been actively ignoring me this whole time, despite numerous attempts to ask for payments that I've earned. Please respect and pay your staff by fulfilling the invoices that we rightfully worked for. I have worked with the talents, made an effort to be part of the server as instructed, made proposal decks, and constantly reached out to various vendors and staff for progress updates to stay on schedule. To offer no payments for these services is not only ridiculously unprofessional, but incredibly cruel and inconsiderate. Due to complete radio silence from Ray and VirtuX VE, I had decided to share my concerns with this server in hopes of a peaceful resolution to this matter. I also want to raise awareness of my current situation in hopes that others going through similar difficulties with Ray and VirtuX VE would know that they are not alone and gain courage to speak up about their situations. Ray, if you are reading this message, please contact me as soon as possible to resolve my unpaid invoices, or I will be forced to take further action." When I came back 20 minutes later to check, I was booted off the server and was sent this message along with Yume. And that was also the screenshot that we saw. The copy and pasta, but Riru responds, "Dear Ray, thank you for the opportunity to work with VirtuX. I truly appreciate the chance to connect with my team and build my experience as a talent manager at the company. I sent a new invoice for your convenience to redacted and kindly request that it be processed at your early convenience. Please remember to use friends and family payment option to ensure the full amount is received. Additionally, please let me know if there are any exit documents that I need to sign. If this communication serves as a notice of termination, I would appreciate it if the invoice could be settled by the end of the day. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Best regards, Riru." On like a side note, Riru is extremely professional with their messaging. After this message, most of the talents that followed my social media unfollowed and removed me from Discord. I ended up soft blocking the remaining talents since I was worried about their mentals on having to do it themselves. Regarding, quote, "the talents didn't even know they had a manager," end quote, he is talking about the period where I was not officially onboarded. He is expecting me to interact with everyone and do work before the contract period even started, and delayed the onboarding process even more due to his personal reasons. Every work I've done was not under his direction, but by communicating with the talents and using my own experiences as a product coordinator and VTuber. I found out afterwards he made my comments about me to everyone within the server, such as, "I didn't do anything. I was having inappropriate combos. I only did work for Yumemi." Slander and coercion of talents. So here's a DM on August 19th writing, "Oh, we're not publicly announcing until the first week of October, but not really. I just need to fire Riru and Yumemi and I'm a pussy. Everyone say bye to Riru and Yumemi. Hilariously enough, the entire agency knew it was happening today. I like to say you can even ask redacted. Ryu was paid and literally did nothing. She worked for 1 week and was paid redacted USD. Side note, talking about bringing redacted to full-time work with us too. We'll keep you updated." My thoughts and feelings. During my time at VirtuX, Ray tended to be strict on interacting with people on his blacklist, as well as anyone who was terminated. He tended to mention suing every single termination to pursue legal action against them, and kept everyone's fear in check. I understood why no one reached out, but at the same time my heart was broken. I'm still a bit affected by it, but I still try to stand firm with my beliefs. I tried my best to fight for the talents and staff's rights, but in the end, I got my best friend booted off the team and lost contact with everyone else. I felt so awful that Yume was also terminated at the same time because of my actions, but I felt so angered that no one else stood up for her. Yume is one of the kindest, caring people in the world and always wanted the best for everyone, but no one took her side and believed in Ray. I hope everyone realizes how much we fought for them and how much Yume supported them even after the termination. She always wanted everyone to be happy. This is not an attack for anyone involved. I just wanted to voice my own frustration about the whole situation. I apologize if this offended anybody, but I cannot lie how I felt about the overall situation. I hope everyone heals from this experience and the remaining staff freelancers are paid for. I hope the ones reading this, please be careful working with individuals who do not have a track record. Do not work for anyone for free. Don't give in to the pressure. Your voice matters and listen to your gut. Love, Riru. And Yumemi says, "I teared up at the end. It was an easy decision for me. I find that my own termination was just silly, but it also costed you so much wasted time. I'm saddened that no one stood up for you. The frustration you felt was because you cared so much. Thank you for everything, Riru." And Riru replies, "OMG, I don't know why I couldn't see this. Your termination was definitely the weirdest thing he did. Why would he fire the most pure slayed person? I'm sad no one stood up for you either. You're way too nice for your own good, and I'll be angry for you. Thank you, Yume." And Kale, who we will get into soon, writes, He made it sound like you didn't care about anyone else but Yumemi, and even complained about you during my interview to prove that he had no useful manager ever. I'm so sorry he did this to you, Riru. And Riru says, were you a new manager? I'm sorry you had to go through that. I felt like maybe I should have made a public statement sooner, but at the same time, with the amount of people against me, I felt like I probably couldn't do much. Never join corpos that complain about others. And yeah, it's definitely a red flag. Again, I am not blaming anybody who got scammed by Ray, but it's like the same thing, you know, when you like date somebody and they're like, oh my God, all my exes are crazy. Like, are all your exes are crazy, or are you the person that makes them go crazy? You know what I mean? Like, you are the common ground. And I'm much more inclined to believe that you are the problem than the fact that you had like 10 crazy exes. Statistically speaking, it's not looking good. Costlania Kia, I hope I'm saying that right, made their post on 1:35 p.m. December 12th, writing, I was part of VirtuX VE. Everyone had seen the documents and screenshots. This is a super tragic and unfortunate situation. Everyone is scammed and lied to for an entire year. Artists and creatives were not paid, ranging from a few $100 to thousands. I'll be making a proper statement going into depth a bit later, but for now, enjoy this video. This video is just really funny. I'm not going to show you the entire video, and I can't play the audio, fortunately, because it is copyrighted, but it's just a lot of memes about the whole situation, which I think is funny. Look, you're just gotta make the best out of the shitty situation, you know? So then later, Cos put out a tweet writing, I wrote over 100 pages of world building, story, and lore for VirtuX VE, and was constantly promised a creative contract, but was never given one. And now that VirtuX is gone, 1 year's worth of work is just gone. Then Cos made an announcement writing, my statement in regards to VirtuX VE, the now dead agency. As always, thank you all for your continuous support. Hey everyone, I was assigned talent for VirtuX VE, who was set to debut December 6, 2024. I wanted to go through a short summary of what I went through. Thankfully, I was not screwed over as badly as some of my peers, so please give them all the support you can give them. I was brought onto VirtuX in 2023 after I failed an audition at a different agency. I was demotivated at the time. I wanted to graduate, and I was going to. However, Ray assured me that he would take good care of me and that I had what it took to be a good content creator. My emotions were riled up, and so I was extremely excited to finally be a talent for an agency. One thing that Ray expressed a lot of interest in was the storytelling of VTubers. There was a lot of VTubers with interesting lore and backgrounds, and we believed that VTubing was an untapped market for storytelling. As a college student who was studying creative writing, I saw this as an opportunity to get a foot on the door into creative writing. Ray would spend time looking for artists, and I would create the world and the characters. We wanted to write a story about VirtuX and their talents, a manga. I went through 3 rewrites. This was due to talents getting constantly terminated. During the first draft, Ray would credit himself, often claiming that we worked on the story together, when in reality, it was me doing all the work. The second rewrite, apparently he didn't approve of the story, but didn't tell me until I was halfway through developing the story. The third rewrite was completed, but is void now due to the closure of VirtuX. Throughout the entire year, I was promised a creative contract, where we discussed potential royalty payment and payment for my work. I wish I had records of this, but this was in call, but ear witnesses can confirm this to be true. I continued to work on the story for the love of the talents and their designs. 1 year passed, and I never saw a cent or a single mention of a creative contract. This was the lie that was most personal to me. 1 year of writing and over 100 pages of drafts and rewrites. Everything the other talents had mentioned in regards to sponsorships and partnerships is true. As hard it is to admit, I was a yes man to Ray, mostly because I was scared of being fired and losing an opportunity of a lifetime. I blindly trusted his words and gossip without confirming the truth first. I apologize for not being better. I am sorry for being so naive. When it comes to models and such, he apparently commissioned the model artist of my choice for my 2.0, but claimed she ghosted her. Seeing how she is the artist for UQ Wilson, I found it extremely hard to believe. He also tried to tell me that my current rigor was very sporadic on her schedule, which is not true because she is extremely organized and always has a calendar filled. Although everything fell apart for VirtuX, I am glad I met the talents and got to know them more. Although the agency is no more, it helped me rekindle the passion for content creation. It is important to note, none of this is on the staff, such as the managers or even the COO. All the problems come from a singular person, Ray. Thank you all for your support the last few days. I love you all. Although VirtuX died, I have never felt so alive to create content and make people laugh. Thank you for your continued support. Love you all. So Blair VT tweets, not a graduation. My experience at VirtuX and plans for the future. With more information about VirtuX VE coming to light publicly, I would like to briefly share my experiences as I make my departure from the company. I originally joined this company on November 28, 2023, after I excitedly sent in an application to be a VTuber talent and got accepted into the company. Upon joining, many promises were made to myself and other talents that never became a reality. Due to the nature and potential benefits of these promises, I remained in the company despite having nothing to actually show for it. Over the past year, I have constantly delayed personal projects and prepared for my debut that never happened. I was estimated to debut February 2024, April 2024, July 2024, November 2024, and December 2024, and finally sometime in 2025, constantly being assured that my debut would be soon. I refrained from pursuing larger projects that I had planned in hopes that it would perform better while associated with the company. I shouldn't have believed these lies without any proof of these claims being true. However, I was blinded by hope and didn't want to potentially ruin a good opportunity for myself. Going forward, I'll be much more skeptical of baseless promises and advise that others do the same. Seriously, if something sounds far too good to be true, it probably is. All things considered, the only thing I've lost this year was my time and energy. My heart goes out to everyone who has experiences far worse than my own, many facing defamation, unpaid working hours, and significant financial losses. Please consider supporting my fellow talents, the artists, and all those who experience much worse throughout this year at VirtuWorks. While this entire situation is awful for everyone involved, I request that people refrain from harassing anyone involved on my behalf. The issue within the company were primarily at the hands of poor leadership. In my experiences with most of the staff manager talent were great. I'm still friends with many of the people who worked at VirtuWorks and plan to work with them in the future as an indie. I really just want to move on from this and continue making cool stuff. So again, please do not harass anyone on my behalf. Now that this chapter of my life has ended, I'm excited for what the future has in store. I have a new model in the works that I hope to debut soon, and I'm thrilled that I can pursue my career on my own again. I can't wait to show everyone the plans that I've held off on for the past year. To a hopeful future, Blair Rune. Next up, we have Kiri Staryear with their post writing Kiri Staryear's testimony in VirtuWorks. Details of what I went through. So Kiri Staryear writes, announcement, I'm finally leaving this fake company. I will be talking about it on Twitch tonight. Dear Curios, I'm announcing my departure from VirtuWorks Virtual Entertainment effective as of December 12, 2024. I joined VirtuWorks VE to grow as a VTuber in hopes of being one of the biggest stars that shines the brightest. I'm devastated that this agency was not everything that it says it was and feels so used. This decision was not made lightly, but it's one I feel was necessary after experiencing repeated issues within the company. Promises were made but not fulfilled. Communication was poor, and certain actions taken by Ray were unprofessional and, at times, questionable. I stayed longer than I probably should have, hoping for improvement, but unfortunately, that improvement never came. I felt manipulated and wasted my time waiting around for nothing. Most concerning was discovering behavior from the CEO, Ray Flynn, that I believe was dishonest and detrimental to the talents involved. As somebody who values respect, trust, and kindness, I cannot continue to align myself with a business that doesn't uphold these values. The chapter has been a difficult one, but I'm excited to move forward independently and focus on creating the best content for all of you. I will always stay as Kiri Staryear. The greatest thing that has come from this is the new friends that we've made along the way, and I'm so grateful to the managers and the talents to be each other's support. I'm endlessly grateful for your patience and support through this transition. With love, Kiri Staryear. Testimony regarding CEO Ray Flynn and his fraudulent activities. I am sharing my personal experience with Ray, the CEO of a VTuber agency, VirtuWorks VE, to expose his unprofessional conduct, manipulative behavior, and fraudulent activities. This testimony is not only a warning to others in the VTuber community, but also an opportunity to shed light on the issues that I and 25 others face while working under him. Initial contact and recruitment. Ray Flynn initially reached out to me on Twitter, complimenting my VTuber model and expressing interest in getting to know me. Ray initially reached out to me on Twitter, complimenting my VTuber model and expressing interest in getting to know me. He seemed genuinely curious about my model's artist and struck up a friendly conversation with me. We interacted minimally, playing Fortnite together offline once and collaborating on a stream. Months later, Ray approached me unexpectedly with what he called an important proposition to join his VTuber agency. I was hesitant as I didn't know how much of his plans or whether he was serious about running an agency. If I wanted to be in an agency, I wanted to be with one that would help me grow as a content creator and be in one for a long time. He worked to convince me, showcasing other talents supposedly joining the agency and emphasizing calculated projections of its success. He even mentioned plans to promote us at Anime Expo, further fueling the idea that this was a well-organized venture. He appealed to me personally, saying how he saw great potential in me, referring to me as a hidden gem in the VTuber space. After some consideration, I decided to join the agency in December 2023 by signing a contract with an NDA, encouraged by the idea of having a team that would support my growth as a VTuber. At that time, I got kicked out of my house by my brother because I joined the streaming agency and became homeless for a few weeks. I had a lot of faith in this company and myself to grow my passions into a career that I loved to do. False promises of a Vshojo partnership. From July 2024, Ray claimed VirtuWorks VE was partnered with Vshojo. He framed this partnership as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, instilling a sense of obligation in the talents to stay and push through despite any doubts or frustrations. When I heard the news, he further told me that we will be able to collab with Vshojo talent. This made me so happy, thinking this is going to change my life 180. My dream was to be one of the greatest VTubers, and knowing that we are going to be working with one of the biggest VTuber agencies made me anxious of not messing this opportunity up, which is to lay low from any conflict and comply. So again, there's a DM from Ray on July 26 stating, we're signed with Vshojo now, with the graphic. He repeatedly assured us that an official announcement of this partnership was imminent, blaming delays on waiting for approval from Vshojo CEO Gunrun. Weeks turned to months, with him promising next week over and over again. Over time, it became clear that this claim was fabricated and that there was no evidence to support his claims. claims. His empty promises served as a manipulation tactic, keeping talents from questioning his leadership or speaking out publicly. He has also announced to us that we will have a CMO that will be handling the financial accounts of Virtuix, and it is Gunrun. Ray said multiple excuses and reasons why we couldn't meet up with Gunrun about our financials. It would be because Ray didn't want to see the unprofessionalism. Internal agency issues. 1. Poor treatment of talents. Ray exhibited unprofessional behavior towards talents, letting go of several individuals before their debuts without clear explanations. After their departures, he would badmouth them to remaining members, painting them as problematic or disloyal. This created an atmosphere of fear and mistrust within the agency. Restrictive rules about art communication. After conflict arose between a talent and an artist, Ray implemented a new rule prohibiting talents from contacting artists or riggers directly. He centralized all communications and payments through himself, claiming it was to avoid misunderstandings. This removed autonomy from the talents and created unnecessary barriers in managing our own projects. Broken promises and financial irregularities. 1. Unpaid reimbursements. Ray owes me $292.53 for a microphone purchase. One of my community members helped me purchase part of the equipment, and Ray promised to cover the remaining amount. Despite reaching out to him multiple times since August 2024, I never received the reimbursement. Initially, I needed the money for rent, and later I wanted it to go towards my puppy's care. Each time I brought it up, he dismissed my requests, and eventually I gave up asking. 2. Budget manipulations. When I debuted with Virtuix on November 2nd, Ray asked for my monthly revenue share just 2 weeks later. I suggest he deducted the amount he owed me from my share, but he never acknowledged this. I later learned that debut trailer teasers were supposed to be covered by the agency's budget, but Ray allowed me to believe otherwise, letting me pay out of pocket to avoid impacting his finances. Mismanagement of debut assets. 1. Marketing and watch-along missteps. My debut announcement was poorly handled, with the announcement made just 1 day before my debut date. This lack of planning hurt my visibility and potential audience turnout. I was initially promised a watch-along with prominent VTubers like Henya the Genius, but the plans changed multiple times without explanation. I was later told my watch-along would feature another VTuber, Freem, but even this was not properly coordinated. 2. Delayed assets and broken promises. Ray assured me I would have new assets for my Virtuix debut, but they were never delivered. When I saved assets for my own personal debut, he insisted they were meant for the company debut instead, dismissing my concerns as a miscommunication. He promised to commission my 2.0 outfit and rigging for February or March, but delayed contacting my character artist, resulting in missed deadlines. Toxic work environment. 1. Fear of speaking out. I was often too afraid to voice concerns due to the fear of retaliation or being let go from the agency. Ray's behavior towards former talents who left the agency made it clear that dissent was not tolerated. Secretive and unprofessional communication. Ray frequently ghosted me and other talents, avoiding questions or delaying responses. On one occasion, he messaged me on Twitter instead of Discord, citing unrelated Discord messages as his excuse. This lack of clear communication was a recurring issue. Ray Flynn's leadership was characterized by dishonesty, mismanagement, and manipulation. His fabricated claims of a Vshojo partnership and false promises created false hope and kept many of us in a toxic environment far longer than we should have stayed. Through his actions, he undetermined trust, stifled creativity, and caused significant personal and professional harm to his talents. I'm sharing this testimony to warn others in the VTuber community: do not let deceitful promises or fear of retaliation silence you. Transparency, respect, and accountability are vital in any professional relationship, and these principles were severely lacking under Ray's leadership. Screenshots. Ray told me to get a new mic and he will pay the remaining amount since one of my community members bought one of the parts. He owes me $292.53, and since I've been telling him since August 2024. So yeah, here you can see $292. Kiri told Ray the $292, and Ray says, sorry, I've been a little busy. I'll try to knock that out this weekend. So in August 1st, Kiri's bumping it. And then, oh, the mic arm didn't fit, so they're asking for reimbursement for the change. Then now we're in September 14th, stating, oh, rent is due on the 20th. I would appreciate if I could be reimbursed for my mic by that time. Same song and dance. Ray has excuses. And look at all the communication about the microphone. Now, October 25th, Kiri is coming to Kuzi to ask them to bump it with Ray for the mic. And then Kiri provides the receipt, $292. Kuzi says, yep, I'll run it past him when I speak to him. I was scared to talk to others about what I think because I feared that they would tell Ray and I would be let go, so I kept things to myself. I didn't appreciate how my debut was going to be announced the day before, so I told him to push it back, but on the announcement, it told a different story. Note, Kuzi is just a messenger. Please don't send any hate to him. He is a victim in this just as much as the rest of us. In Kuzi's message on October 24th, Kiri's debut was pushed back to November November 2nd, but the reason cited was Kiri needing more time. Another pushback for Saga's debut, and the issue was cited as artist issues. And then was told to have an announcement trailer, but never got it. And Kuzi says, if you could wait until tomorrow, we'll be posting your announcement trailer. Logo was supposed to be commissioned, and he never confirmed who was going to do my logo, never asking for my input. I asked multiple times when my logo would be finished so I can show it on my debut day, but he said the artist ghosted him. Also, I was supposed to get Henya the Genius as one of my watch-alongs, which makes me kind of wonder if the watch-along was ever reserved. So, just like what they said, on September 26th, Kiri is asking about the logo, asking if a reschedule should happen. Ray has more excuses, something about a hurricane. Oh, maybe Florida, sorry. And Ray says, perfect, haha, sorry. I had Henya for your debut, but she's still sick. Trying to see what gunman can cook up. And then they send Freem. He told me that Freem was going to be one of the watch-alongs, then it didn't happen for who knows what reason. So give me the value and I got you, so I'm guessing this was probably about the microphone. It's around the same time, August 2nd. And then this is in September 26th, they're talking about the debut. Kiri is asking for the dates. And then Kiri is like, wait, let's get confirmation and get our stuff. I'm silly. And Ray says, I want to Monday, but yeah, waiting for everything. And Ray says, well, good news. An editor finally didn't ghost me after taking payment, so I'm contacting Gunman for those watch-alongs. We'll follow up with you in the morning. And this was October 14th. And then another excuse. They were going to do my debut announcement the day before my actual debut date. This was very poor marketing because how will anyone save the day to watch? Also, initially, my watch-along was going to be Henya the Genius, then Giga. This was my supposed watch-alongs and it was changed multiple times. The communication was super bad and I was told that I would have a Vshojo member do a watch-along. And Kiri on October 24th is, expressing their hesitancy about announcing the debut literally the day before. Kuzi says, yep, I've spoken to Ray and we decided to push it back to Tuesday. If you could do Tuesday after 5 p.m. EST, that'd be great. And then they presented Fruit, Giga, and Epico as the available watch-along members, stating that Giga is the only one that isn't 100% locked in, but it would be switched with a different Vshojo member if that's the case. And that the issue is that Ray is sick, which is why they have to delay it. I have new assets ready for my official model debut as I haven't had one before. I discussed this with Ray during our voice chat and he mentioned that he would secure additional assets that I haven't received yet. He assured me that I would have something new for the Virtuix debut. However, at the time I approached my company debut after my actual model debut, he seemed to believe that the new assets I had saved for my debut were intended for the Virtuix debut instead. He downplayed it, saying there must have been a miscommunication. He instead insisted to using that budget towards my 2.0 outfit and rigging this upcoming February-March. Initially, the outfit was supposed to be for the Virtuix debut, but it took too long before he could message my Papa artist schedule. So this is March 13th, 2024, where Kiri is asking about the new outfits. And then Ray says, sorry, we'll start it up soon, just trying to figure out how to get it rigged without having to pay for a whole new rig. And Kiri says, so I didn't know at the time that debut trailer teasers were covered by the company. And he didn't even correct me and went along with it so that his budget wouldn't be affected and mine would. So here, January 17, Kiri was asking about debut trailers. Now on the 18th here, Kiri is asking for some funding for their debut teaser because they're getting low on funds after paying rent. And then they added their Twitch payout history. Ray says, sorry, I just saw this. Let me scrounge around the budget. Should be doable. And Kiri is extremely grateful. And then Kiri notes, secrets, secrets, secrets. And ghosting your own company is wild. So Ray is on July leaking the Vshojo sign and then saying, are you free Monday afternoon by chance? It's a big update, but if you can keep this a secret from Spark, I would appreciate it. Spark being one of the waves that were set to debut, did not come through. But so again, it is a red flag that you're asking members to keep secrets from like other groups in the team. And Ray says, don't let them know you spoke to me. You'll understand when we talk, but you're okay. Trust me. Actually, your model Papa might love me. And Kiri says, oh yeah, you talked to him? And Ray says, nah, but I think he's about to get a very cool commission from Vshojo. Why out of nowhere, he messaged me on Twitter instead of Discord. He told me it's to avoid unread Discord messages through voice chat. And so Ray says, this is October 31st. I had a small surgery and I'm recovering, but I want to meet with you before the debut. Are you free anytime tomorrow? Kiri says they can meet tomorrow. And Ray sent over some artwork. So then they're agreeing for a time to do some calls. And Ray was talking about his health issues and how he had part of his liver removed, but he wants to keep it on the DL. So next up, we have Kale Kiyomi. And my bad, I actually believe I might have placed their announcement out of order in my chronological because I saw like a different tweet of them. And Kale wrote, I enjoyed being a manager while it lasted. I will not be elaborating further on the subject. For more details, it is better to hear it from the talent themselves. They suffered for so long. Their recounts are listed below. Kale writes, While I have not been there long, I have parted ways with Virtuix VE as of December 12, 2024. I joined the Virtuix team as staff as a talent manager in late October of this year. In the short time I was there, I worked to fix the foundational issues of the agency that were apparent from an outsider perspective, completely unaware just how severe the situation truly was. I was promised biweekly and overtime payment and have not received a single paycheck from my 90 hours of work. As more broken promises and communication failures came to light, it became clear that the problems had been festering since the early days of the agency, with consequences that were beyond saving. My heart goes out to all the talents, artists, and contractors who were taken advantage of in the situation. I am grateful to have met the amazing talents of the agency. They were a joy to work with and deserve so much more. As they continue their journey as independent VTubers, I will be supporting from the sidelines as I've decided to put my focus back on completing university. The mental and financial strain of this ordeal has served as an experience and a harsh reminder of the challenges that life throws at you. Perhaps after I graduate, I will return to managing, as it truly was a fun endeavor. However, I need to do what is financially the most stable for me now, to be able to pay off my student debt. Please send love to the talents as they heal. Their docs and testimonies will be under this post. If you have time, I encourage you to read them to see just a fraction of their pain. And to my supporters, thank you for following me in my ever-changing arcs. I look forward to sharing new goals and plans for the new year. Love, Kale. Then we have Shiro Zevalia, who, remember, was one of the 2 VTubers that was terminated on November 9th as part of the Instinct Wave 1. Shiro writes, seeing large and established creators that I and many others hold as an Oshi speaking up about everything really means a lot. But every small voice, every viewer, every artist, everyone showing support matters just as much. I love all of you so much. I hope everyone is given what they are deserved and can heal from stress and pain. We have a tweet from Momo Henshin writing, this piece of shit slandered my boyfriend Kuzi to his entire company, lying about him by saying he didn't do the work assigned to him and didn't pay his rent when Kuzi had done nothing but help him. You are scum for turning on your friends like that to get sympathy for your own failures. And that is likely referencing this tweet made by Ray. So this was also made on December 12th. Like almost all of these posts came out on December 12th. And Ray made their post like in the middle of the docs that I was reading to you. So Ray writes, hi everyone. I had wanted to address this once I had fully closed things off and made all of our contractors whole over the weekend. But with recent statements, I wanted to clear things up a little bit. I failed the talents, staff, and contractors that trusted me. That is something I can't dispute. I was unfortunately handling things on my own, and while I don't deserve sympathy or empathy, I tried my best to hold things up by myself and cracked under the pressure. I made promises I couldn't hold up to, and to avoid disappointing people, promised more and more. While no one may believe me, my intentions starting this agency were good. I had granted talents a lower budget than what was given to them, provided management for setup out of my own pocket funding, even when the agency wasn't making any money. I had tried my best to fulfill talents' needs. This became overwhelming for me and impacted the agency's plans, and more importantly, the talents. There was no clear chain of command, I had not established myself as a strong leader, and I tried to please everyone, leading me to failing. My health took a massive turn for the worse, my funds were draining, and unfortunately I had no one to help take over and manage things while I recovered. This was inexcusable to the talents and staff that trusted me. Because of this, I couldn't keep up with my commitments to talent regarding their assets and fell massively behind. Instead of communicating this to talents, I continued trying to meet expectations and falling short. While there are many issues we faced starting this company, with past talents we parted away with for various reasons, harassment of other talents, breaching of contract, inappropriate statements, non-payment by talents, and with some contractors, I am at fault for not being able to hold things up. We will be making an official statement from the account, but talent agreements will be dissolved appropriately. Accounts with contractors will be made whole, and talents will be allowed to keep their IP and anything paid for by Virtuix with no expectation of repayment. I truly wish I could have met up to standards. I told management and creators working with us this, but I never started this company to make money. I created it to help smaller creators achieve their dreams and hopefully break even for the thousands of dollars I poured into it and the time I spent trying to make it work. I regrettably fell short on this. While some statements from past talent may not be whole in accuracy due to the circumstance of their termination, I do hope you can support the talents, partners, staff, and artists that work with us. Additionally, I'll be stepping away from public platforms to work on myself, educate myself, and hopefully never disappoint people that I trust in me again. As much as it may mean nothing now, I truly am sorry for failing and hurting others in the process. I mean, onto that, it's like twofold, right? Regardless, if you have like IRL circumstances, obligations that come up, health issues, whatever, manage what life throws at you responsibly. I'm very sorry if Ray had to experience a lot of difficult health circumstances, but there are so many people being strung along, thousands and thousands of dollars that are owed to people. There were so many opportunities just to shut this down and be like, we're gonna pause production indefinitely, like let me like right the wrongs right now, and maybe in the future, once I'm better and I can dedicate the time that a project like this of this scale would need, They didn't know how to pull the plug and just wrote it out until it died. And also, secondly, like a quote, this is like a quote unquote apology statement, right? But they're just like blaming and throwing other people under the bus in this apology statement. And I can't take apology seriously when behavior like that happens. Then we have a document from Kaz Spella, writing, after suffering for more than half a year and remaining silent out of fear for what would happen if I speak up. My experience with Ray and Virtuix VE. Please support all the talents that were harmed in this. Kaz writes, please do not send hate to respected parties. This document holds my own experiences with Ray and Virtuix. Thus, I will be linking the other ex-talent statements. TLDR, I was to be a part of the second gen of Virtuix named Spark. In my time with Virtuix, I was lied to, defamed, ghosted, and at the end of it all, fired June of this year. Herein, I wish to compile my thoughts and clear up miscommunications. My mental health suffered tremendously throughout this experience. I took months off streaming, grew panic and paranoid, and did not wish to have anything to do with streaming or VTubing anymore. My time with Virtuix. In autumn of 2023, here, I joined Virtuix VE as a talent for their second gen Spark. On June 20th, I was let go for speaking my mind on how unprofessionally management is handling the company and questioning the integrity of the liaison between Ray, Virtuix, and I. Here's what actually transpired and why I was let go. From the get-go, I was hopeful, very much so. I wanted to be part of a talent group filled with a roster of very talented individuals. Promises were made about partnerships with Elgato, Discord Throne, potentially Vshojo, and connections towards what a lot of VTubers consider the non-plus-ultra Iron Vertex. Spark's debut was promising. We were supposed to fully debut after Offkite. Plans were made over us being introduced to the world with a song composed by Deco27, which sounds crazy, and then things went silent. So Ray had sent a DM January 3rd, 2024. So basically the TLDR of the message reads, keep this on the DL, but due to some disorganization with Offkite management and difference in values with previous brand partners, we're not going to attend Offkite and we're dissolving relations with our editing company and brand partner VConnect, moving to working with freelancers. There is no rush now to debut Spark, so your debut is going to be pushed back to late June, early July. Updates were sparse, communications far between, and promises kept piling up. Something felt off. I grew closer to one talent in particular, for he shared a lot of my views on management handling things questionably. Both in the server and behind the scenes, a different tone took place. Ray would openly talk negatively about both companies and behind closed doors, talk negatively of people affiliated with the company or in relation to the talents. My assumption here is that it was his attempt to snake out bribing material. So Ray says, I think we're replacing a Spark member, I'm done. Cass says who, and Ray says name, it's been redacted. And Cass says, oh, is she the one getting the art done? And Ray says, yeah, without running it by us. She dedicated to a $400 overlay. Also just learning she started a $400 commission for art she expects me to pay for. And then Ray says, I hope you're not friends with KO. He's going on the backlist. I can't stand this bullshit. The radio silence would keep on. I would ask for updates regularly, be it in DMs or the group Discord. And here are all these messages about timelines from Kaz asking for updates, more information. The only time Ray would be active was to talk smack about people, and even worse, to turn ex-talents into scapegoats and thus have a common enemy. If this was an attempt to grow a cohesive team, I do not know. But it became very apparent to me after the second attempt. Check Soma's statement about his time here. Soma was followed by Sin, which I followed suit. Hi. Followed by Umemi. Live 2D lies and timeline. One of my conditions was receiving a new VTuber model. Ray and I searched through artists that both of us would sing off on. Maybe Sign? I felt comfortable in this process, but was very apparent that he would not hold true to the theme set for Spark and was putting himself more into my IP than what makes me me. So Ray is talking about this artist by the name of Aqua. So here is Kaz again, kind of being nervous, asking, anything about the artist, give me some updates. Now, a month later, April 4th, Kaz says, I am stating this because we were slated for a model start in April. Pushing our release back is not changing that, so I need a bit of transparency. And Ray says, oh, their end of April may start because of that other job. We're still on time. It's a 25-day production and 2 weeks for rigging, meaning we're still good for July. In desperation, due to lack of communication, I would approach our COO, Kuzi, who sadly could only share whatever Ray fed him. So Kuzi's, giving some updates like, oh, Ray's gonna poke your artist. Sorry for the delay. Ray's been dealing with stuff. On the 27th of April, I finally got an update. What delayed everything was him not paying. I was disheartened. And Ray's excuse was the invoice got lost in his inbox. On the 18th of May, I received the finished sketch, with the sketch presented. Kaz adds, it's to quote Paris Hilton, Sylving, support the artist. This was the artist that made that sketch, Tom Yum Art. Kaz writes, the deadline grew tighter and tighter, and I was, for lack of better terms, severely fed up with how he would manage things and communicate in general. I stopped believing in whatever he said and vented to fellow talents and management about his unprofessionalism. I continued waiting. More on this when we talk about the reason for my termination. Let's circle back to communications and talk about responsibilities for a second. Ray decided to make a statement on this, saying he was sadly the only person handling everything, and as others confirmed, confirmed, would just trash talk Kuzi while not handling any responsibilities or tasks to his second command. So that's the message. Ray would actively fail to set up meetings, prompting talent and managers to actively approach him, Kuzi and the open group text about it. It was always later, soon, after XYZ. Screenshots stating, sorry guys, waiting to hear back about a meeting, gonna start making appointments tomorrow morning, waiting to have a meeting. And we've already seen that through all the documents. The refusal of payment until escalation. A big red flag for me was Ray being late on payments in multiple instances, be it logo art, concept art, management, or translations. Redacted says, what I'm doing is that if I don't get paid on the next pay period, I'm stopping all translation. Like I will not work until I'm paid for the previous time period, and I think it's fair. Redacted writing, hi Ray, I need that payment within the next 2 hours so I can pay rent. I'm really sorry to add more possible stress, but from now on, I won't be doing any more work until I'm paid at least 50% upfront to avoid this happening again. Redacted writing, anyways, I'll let everyone know once I can actually start working and get paid. I started in April and have not been paid. A pattern that I noticed was wherever people spoke up openly about this on the server, they would get booted from the company. I'm assuming Ray just saw them as a liability. I wish to get this one off my heart because the initial reason I was let go was for supposedly talking bad about management, affiliates, and what hurt the most, talents. It's time, my termination. So on June 20th, Ray writes, hello Kaz, fellow hater of the Haters Club. I like to apologize for multiple things. First of which was believing you were a friend. Second, believing that you were professional enough to be in a company. After discovering yours and Redacted's hate chat, I truly want to believe you were a bystander in all of this. But it's clear that all the time I spent reassuring you that you're a talented individual, supporting you through hardships, and hearing you out was converted into slander against me and other members of Virtuix. Disappointed isn't even a word I'd use to describe my feelings. I'm genuinely hurt because I didn't think of you as just a talent. I thought of you as a friend. Clearly, that was never the case for you. You have been terminated as a talent from Virtuix Virtual Entertainment. You have been removed and blocked from all servers, partnerships, and public channels. Additionally, all of our brand partners have been notified of you and Redacted's toxic behavior. Whether they choose to continue partnerships or work with you in the future is up to them. Kaz writes, fellow hater of the Haters Club now reads quite funny to me. That line stems from this convo I had with a fellow member. So it was a convo where Kaz was asking Redacted about any updates on timelines, being worried that Spark isn't even going to debut at all. Who I knew was irritated before the initial convo. This fellow member then proceeded to snitch to Ray about the group chat, but instead of presenting it as a group to share our frustrations with Ray's lack of communication and management, it was misconstrued as us smack talking other talents instead. And some more DMs where Kaz says, does Redacted have doubts at all? And Redacted says, yep, he thinks that Ray needs to step up as a CEO, which I 100% agree. And then, some where they're sending like some of Ray's tweets. The hate chat was a group convo where we were to discuss steps on how to handle the pressure and disappointment due to lack of management. The fellow talent left within 5 minutes due to prior bad experiences with people snitching. The response, I will stand by this. Hello Ray, we never criticize you as a person. We criticize the lack of info and things being brought our way and about us feeling disheartened by the fact that we got no news back. The action is wild, uncalled for, and confusing to me. I reach out to you multiple times without answers to anything. I express my frustration to a fellow gen mate. I did not trash talk Virtuix as a whole or anything. I pointed out flaws that I would like to see fixed in the future. I did so openly in the server. You vented to others about things annoying you. I never took it outside of the company nor made it a hate club. But okay, questioning my professionalism in this case when I openly approached you, asked Kuzi and you about progress and was frustrated in regards to not receiving any is an open hate club now? That is crazy to me. After talks with our gen management, I was made aware that none of the screenshots included anything I supposedly said, other than priorly shown hate chat. My assumptions on his thought process. He tried to limit combos towards talents and thus threatened with NDA. On the inside, he made people aware of the self-same lie. So the lie being that Kaz and Redacted were both participating in slander of management, company, and various talents. I am embarrassed to admit that I never talked to anyone but affirmation friend, like, ever really? This stems from both time zone restraints, Europe versus North America, and my own social awkwardness. Ray wrote, this being said, I do want to be transparent as I always have been and share what was sent to us. I do need a few days as the people that came forward have asked to remain anon, so I would like to respect their wishes and black out their names from the screenshots. Kaz writes, this sentence is a big red flag for me. Blacking out names from screenshots and anonymizing it is a clear attempt to spin a narrative and possibly falsify info. Termination terms, NDA, and payment. Again, with that copy pasta indicating that the NDA survives the termination and that the model art was put on an indefinite hold, and then asking Kaz to pay for the model art or legal action will be threatened. First, the NDA. Post-termination, I did a ton of research, not only for myself, but the talent that was let go alongside me as well. As it turns out, there was never any timelines for the NDA given. This is against the legalities of the Court of Ontario, where it shows shows the duration of the agreement shall begin on the effective date and continue until terminated. Thus, it was fair to assume that the NDA ran out with our termination as it was the only date given to us contractually. Monetary charges. My immediate response to him trying to charge me for things I have yet to see outside of my concept art was as follows. As for the payment, I expect a thorough breakdown with proof of payment in relation to whatever was ordered in the name of Virtuux, such as my right. I will not follow blind receipts with no knowledge of what payment was made for what. Afterwards, I contacted the studio my supposed model artist works for. Their response confirmed my suspicions. And the studio says, nope, they haven't booked Aqua. There were convos, but it didn't pan out. Legalities. If you wish to be proper about all of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Flynn, you would have violated this clause of your own contract. For I was terminated without 30 days being provided, nor did I commit a material breach. Or the contract reads rules to terminate. The agreement can be terminated if either party provides 30 days written notice to the other party, or the parties mutual agree. In the event of a material breach of this agreement by the talent, the agency might terminate the agreement with immediate effect. Kaz writes, this, combined with this, indemnification of legal fees, out-of-pocket expenses, and liability. If any party breaches this agreement, the non-breaching party shall be compensated by breaching party for its reasonable legal fees. Would mean you owe me money instead. Where are my 100K, Ray? I jest. My conclusion is as follows. I feel no remorse in speaking up for the treatment of talents or staff. I would do the same again. I will not let injustice like this slide if things are meant to be professional. To what would have been fellow Gen and company mates, I apologize if whatever Ray lied to you guys about brought you distress. Know that I would never try to talk any of you down. I think the beauty of VTubers, or rather content creation really, is the amount of diversity in the space. We are all our own little stars, and I am happy we can shine freely now. Supposed brand deals, collabs, and lies for fun. Ray stating that they've been friends with Bisu Lovely since high school, recommending for a Carmico collab. Damn, I follow these creators. And Ray says, my song with Shoto isn't the only one I'm proud of anymore. Murder Mystery took a backseat. Mentioning an ex-Hollow manager, something about FaZe. Redacted says, I'm looking back at my DMs with Ray. Sakana wanted to buy out Spark for 100K and Ray said no. And then Ray stating, also man talks about potentially buying him out from Globee. Ray constantly lied about buying talents or gens being possibly acquired by other agencies, be it FaZe Connect as seen above or Vshojo as seen below. Also, the FaZe Connect one is really funny because wasn't Ray talking shit about FaZe in another interview? So again, this message was the Vshojo hint and then the Vshojo graphic. And then Kaio says, I'm sorry, Kaz. I hope you're doing all right after this. And Kaz says, today has been a good day. It can only go up. Appreciate you, Kaio. Then Soma has their document by the name of TLDR Soma writing, as Ray's actions have come to light, I feel I have to speak about the lies, stalking, defamation, and immense slander he has caused me. This is my experience with Ray Virtuux. So Soma writes, my association. To start out, hi, I'm Soma. I was one of the original members of Virtuux before being the first victim to his power trip, ultimately being fired and slandered immensely by him. Starting from the beginning, Ray was one of the first friends I made in my past life. We grew close quickly and loved hanging out with each other. I thought I made a genuine friend. Cut to December, a couple years ago, I was in the company Aurora Live VR, and seeing their sketchy bullshit, I left. Right after, when I was vulnerable and depressed, he offered me a new place, a new company he wanted to start up called Virtuux in March of 2023. Little did I know, I would essentially end up becoming somewhat of a co-founder, and ultimately had lies spread from Ray himself about suing me for 100K and me avoiding court, amongst other things. Time in the company. It started out with such great expectations, deals, and prospects. After a couple of months, though, he was not pulling his weight. He had me fire my old manager I stayed in contact with from AVLR, and I essentially had to give him the reality about what he is supposed to do as a CEO, not me. He never learned though, and I had to pick up the pieces that he left behind. I would help come up with character designs that he would just end up tossing. I would scout out talent for him, find artists and resources, plan our marketing and branding for talents, coming with plans for company marketing, coming up with the idea for hiring people for watch-along debuts, and even had to pressure him to reach out to people he hired or claimed to hire to make sure things are being delivered. Hell, I even made the base for Virtuux talent server for him because he didn't want to. I was fighting tooth and nail to make sure the talents would be treated decently and working tirelessly to make sure we were prepared for our debuts. All for free, mind you. Side note, not to mention I spent around 4 hours with Synth.ai helping her come up with her name, lore, branding vibe, explaining how to debut as a VTuber as both an indie and a corpo. He never bothered to help her at all when she is completely new to VTubers as a whole and even streaming. I had to guide her through everything because he was more worried about his music and his debut album, which never happened, than developing and helping us talents, even getting started and having an understanding on streaming. The cracks. After a bit, I started noticing the cracks. I would always get an excuse as to why the artists were told a different deadline than what we were told, always blaming the artist every time. While he was chilling with graphics, backgrounds, 2 to 3 models, on the way to people, me and Lulu didn't even have concept art. We were supposed to debut in around 2 to 3 months at that point, back in June, July of 2023. I would even go on to message who was supposed to be my model mama, and she told me she never accepted the model request. Of course, he would proceed to gaslight me and tell me she was confused and to never reach out to artists he hired for us, and that he will be the messenger updater between us. He would actively lie to us about deadlines he gave people and lie about even hiring people. By this time, he also started complaining about how much work he was doing and had to do, even though I was pulling a lot of the weight he was lacking behind the scenes. I proceeded to tell him if he already had managers that he said were from Hololive lined up, then we should get contracts out to hire them and take the workload off of him, which will lead to my next point. The lawyers. Now, let's touch on the fact I believe he was lying about hiring lawyers to make the contract. He kept telling me he had contracts being made by a lawyer friend. That was taking a month to make at one point. A standard talent contract. At the 2 week mark, he told me the lawyer's mom died and he needed a bit to grieve, so I let it go. I waited until the next week, then 1 month mark to ask for updates. He then told me he got the contract but needed to look over it again and a couple things tweaked. He decided to go with a different lawyer, which took a couple weeks again to try and look over just to tweak a couple things, as he was still complaining. So with that being said, I never signed any NDA and I was never under a contract by Virtuux. The lead up to being fired. My final straw was when I was hanging out for dear life and waiting 3 weeks for a simple concept sketch from an artist. Ray just kept giving me excuses again as to why he's not delivering. At some point he told me again that the artist's mom died and was grieving, and I told him that if he's not going to deliver, we need to find someone else. I'm sorry for his loss, but we needed to make sure we were delivering for the talents and company as well. We had a deadline of 2 months to get everything, and Lulu was also supposed to get concept art after me for our models. We didn't even have the models at this point. I eventually said fuck it and had a meeting with Lulu and made a color-coded mood board of what we wanted the concept art. Since I've already been doing so much for the company, I thought it would be okay for me to get Lulu his concept art with my own artist that I knew could deliver a sketch in a couple days. And with my own money, I paid for a concept sketch that got delivered in a few days. Ray did not like that. Lulu told him what I did, and Ray saw that as me going behind his back and betraying him. He was furious. Why? Well, I don't know. Was it because he felt his power in the company was threatened? Because I was doing what he should be doing and he didn't like seeing that? Or maybe I was violating a contract or NDA that I was never given or signed off on? We may never know. He told me he wanted a meeting though. I kept checking on when he wanted it and he ended up ghosting me. It fucked with me so much mentally about losing a golden opportunity like a VTuber company yet again, one right after another. I eventually went and got help at a mental institute for my own safety, while 2 of my friends took care of my own Discord account. A message was sent out to keep everyone in the company and friends know what's going on. That is when he removed me from everything and had everyone block me, while I was away keeping myself safe and getting mental help. I came back to everything being gone and isolated yet again. I wouldn't interact or talk with Ray for about a year, in which he would slander me and try to ruin my image to people. In reality, I was never officially told I was fired. He was a coward, and while I was seeking mental health, he just removed me from everything that I even made for him, had everyone block me, and added me to his blacklist. Lies and manipulation after I got fired. For this section, I'll actually be addressing the claims he made to Talents and many others after I was fired. Anon one's testimonial. From the very beginning, Talents were made to believe that Soma was a villain. Ray would tell stories about how he went against Ray's wishes early into Virtuux creation and message artists behind Ray's back. One notable event that we were told of is that Soma pressured an artist whose mother had recently passed to deliver an art piece. We were told that this, amongst other events, led to Soma's termination and was the first person to be blacklisted. Ray made himself out to be merciful, stating that he would not sue Soma so long as he dropped his past life and didn't make any content as said past life. Soma had continued to do so Ray told us that they were pursuing legal action and suing him for $100K, a massive sum that Ray said would put Soma in a lifetime of debt given his job as a bag boy at a grocery store. Talents were told that Soma had ignored every legal document about a court hearing and that police would have to show up to his doorstep to read out the letter in person. He went into disturbing amounts of detail that made the whole situation sound believable and to instill fear tactics. The Talents were then told that there would be a virtual court hearing on February 14th. Come February 14th, we were told that Soma had not shown up to the hearing and the judge approved the $100K lawsuit. Soma streamed that night and was made fun of for streaming and not appearing at a court hearing. We were now aware that this court hearing and lawsuit were false. During this time, some Talents were told to keep an eye out on Soma's past life accounts as he privated his Twitter and Ray did not have access to seeing any posts. All of the stories told were malicious in nature, painting Soma to be naive, two-faced, and just flat out stupid. Ray was quick to talk ill of Soma and Soma's friend Pumpkin. Soma's situation was made to be a silent warning to us all to stay quiet out of fear that Ray can and will sue us if we were to speak or act out of line. Anon 2's talent testimonial. Told us he told an artist he didn't care their mom died. Told us he sued the hell out of you and won for 100K and that we were all going to get my past life's name, money. Said you were repeatedly breaking NDA. Slandered you for months, just general shit talk. Made you out to look like a massive idiot. Oh, and he told us you weren't legally allowed to stream ever again because of the lawsuit. Had us watch you in case you were alive so we could tattle to him. Eventually, he got bored and we stopped. A non-talent number 3's testimonial. So the first time I heard about you was, I believe, over call when Ray held a meeting for Virtuix. He mentioned that he had issues with you and had fired you and told you to basically keep your mouth shut because NDA. He also said that you broke it and wouldn't stop talking about Virtuix and stuff to people. And then he claimed to have sent you warnings and stuff to which you supposedly ignored. He played it in a way where it sounded like he gave you multiple chances to keep your mouth shut, going from a simple stop streaming with this identity or you'll be sued to then claiming that he sued you. He then claimed you didn't even show up to court and he ended up filing a 100K lawsuit against you, which would be used to help fund future Virtuix endeavors, leading us to believe that we definitely had the money for everything we had planned. He should talk you a lot, but honestly it was mostly just a repeat of the same stuff over and over about you not showing up to court and stuff. He eventually later said that you both made up and that he was generous enough to make it so that even though you're paying 100K in fines, he would be returning half of the payments back to you since you both made up and you realized your mistakes and stuff. Not a direct quote, though it's been a while. My response to the lies he spread. I, in fact, was never sued for $100,000. I never received papers of such a case. I never avoided any court mandates, and I never was told to stop streaming as my past life. As from what I remember, that would have been against his contract of us keeping RIPs. All of these are lies and fabrications meant to defame me and slander my image. I was also apparently doxxed by some as he told people sensitive info about my family he learned from us being friends. He tried to make me look like a monster, idiot, and essentially a criminal. I never broke any contract or NDA because even though I was trying to push him to get them out ASAP, I never received anything of the sort. As for the artist, I was sympathetic, but after an extended amount of time and the deadline were given by Ray to work with, I told him that we needed to look at other people because, as I'm sorry for his loss, we have a deadline that we have to upkeep for the company and talents. Might I also say he didn't want to push it back again, which he ended up doing anyways because he didn't have any of the resources the talents needed. As we see from other people's statements, he clearly didn't listen to me or kept lying to people about deadlines, things being delivered, and people being hired as a whole. Making up present day. I will keep this short and sweet. He messaged me one day to talk it out and he apologized for talking about me, yet he only gave me a surface level understanding of what he said. I wanted to take the mature route out and have it be over with. I accepted his apology and I thought he learned from when I was with the company. He in fact did not. As he fired more people, he would shit talk them to whomever they could. There always was a scapegoat. There always was somebody to shit talk and throw under the bus. Then we have our present day and what is currently happening. Everyone jumping ship and putting your ass on blast as they should. My final statements and addressing the lies. So Ray, let's talk about a few more of the lies you love telling, like how you claimed you were making a song with Vshojo, that you were hiring Giga for a song, that you paid Fallside to cover Virtuix, or that Virtuix was partnering up with Vshojo. You may threaten the talent with a contract, but guess who's not under a contract? That's right, me. I have suffered from that snake of a person, Ray, for over a year without me even knowing, and yet having an inkling at the same time. From Tora to Surge to this, I'm just tired of the bullshit. Ray, you're selfish, manipulative, and you're a narcissist. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? Surge, stop trying to play victim in this. He may have lied about you wanting to charge him, but you also lied about Aishi and slandered her when you cheated on her. You two are like two peas in the same damn pod. I finally feel free and like I can finally connect with people he lied to me about and with people he lied to them about me. I finally don't have to hold this in for as long as I did. I am so sorry to all of Virtuix talent and staff. We are victims to this man. I hope nothing but the best for all of us. It's what we owe to ourselves and what we deserve moving forward. Love you all and please reach out if any of y'all need anything. Point blank period, TLDR Soma. Synth AI writes, reading this makes me feel ill. I'm incredibly upset with myself that I actually believe some of this. I am so sorry for not reaching out sooner. You deserve better. And Soma writes, sweetie, I hold nothing against y'all. I'll tell you what I told Mukia. Y'all couldn't help that you were manipulated and that there was a power dynamic at play. I miss hanging out and talking with you, Apollo and Lulu. I hope we can all talk and hang out again once we've healed enough. Love you, girl. Please reach out if you need anything. Then we have Cynical writing, this year has been a pain. I've been through many ups and downs, more downs than ups, honestly. However, I'm a huge believer in karma, and karma is a beautiful thing today. People in this industry lie. They lie to make you look and feel bad, put you down, anything for them to crawl to the top and make a ladder of bodies beneath them. But as they say, what goes up must always come down, and in the exact way they went up to. Next up, we have Rafu Riggs, who tweeted at 11:44 p.m. December 12th, writing, I don't normally engage in drama, but with the recent controversy about Virtuix, I would like to speak up about my experience working with Ray. And remember, Rafu is a rigger. Rafu writes, in light of everyone else sharing their experience, I figured I should contribute too, especially with the stuff he shared to me despite not having me sign an NDA. He slandered and hurt so many people I was acquainted with, including many of my VTuber children. I'm not the best at writing documents, so I'll present everything in a TLDR style to reveal all the things Ray said to me with proof and testimonies attached. Key points. late payment, poor communication and excuses, overpromising with Vshojo mentionings, ghosting, slandering, spreading rumors about other riggers, artists, agencies, talents, and or VTubers and calls, with all the ones I'm aware of. So first is the Mukia rig from May 16th to the 21st. Payment was made after 4 months of runarounds. So May 15th, Rafu was approached about the rig, getting it done ASAP, and Rafu, the absolute goats, turned it over on the 21st, which is insanely fast for a VTuber rig. So they get into a call together and then told Rafu that he was going to be sending a generous tip for the rig so that I can wait longer. That was on May 27th. Rafu says, hey Ray, sent a reminder on the invoice for Mukia's model. Also congrats on the debut. And Ray says, gonna be sending 2 payments, friends and family, one for the remaining of the model and one for $600 as a tip for everything. Then told me that he secured a partnership with Vshojo August 10th and how Gunrun, CEO Vshojo, mentored him. So here, this was on August 10th. We partnered with Vshojo and they gave us an account manager and now he's in charge of payments. And, plugging Gunrun, stating that Gunrun was who got him there. And then examples of being ghosted, where Rafu was trying to get communication with Ray, completely ghosted for like days and days on end, blaming the Vshojo account manager that they partnered with, saying they were doing a horrible job. So all this ghosting, and then Ray says, hi, sorry, he's been awful at his job, blaming other people, confronting August 29th. September 9th, the tip goes up from $600 to $750. And then, with Ray saying that he's gonna send $1,500. Now we're on September 9th, still no payments. September 10th, Ray says we'll crawl out of bed soon and get it paid. Rafu bumps it on September 11th. And on September 12th, this is when Rafu contacted Mukia. And then got into a call on September 13th where he paid me the latter half of the invoice, but the tip was forgotten. I was also told I will be rigging the following talents: Skari, Redacted, Kos, Yana, Ray's second outfit, Apollo's second outfit. Skari didn't know I would be the one rigging her model until last minute. I also found out that Sam was never contacted to rig her model despite being 2 months late. The next lie here is where he claims Skari hated her current work. So again, Ray says, long story short, Skari hates the current work. Rigger is 2 months late and still isn't done. I've already spoken to her. She likes your work. And then again, here is, again, right? We've already read Skari's testimony. Skari expecting Sam. I'm guessing Sam is Panda. Or sorry, no. But here Skari says, was wondering if I should reach out to Sam. And Skari under the impression it would be rigged by Sam. And then here, I was commissioned for a 3-day rush rigging, but never received a down payment. So this is December 2nd, 2024. And Raf was saying, tell me when the down payment is sent so I can start working. And then Ray has an excuse, ended up doing something else, putting the expense into QuickBooks now. Raf was asking, and then Raf was just pinging Ray. Do it. Ray has not paid you for so long. So here, Ralph was asking, you need the model done by the 5th. And then Ray says, no, it'll be the 10th or 11th now. Her new debut date will be the 13th, which made it into a 1-week long commission, which I never received the down payment. And then Redacted didn't know I would be the one rigging the model prior and was only told I'll be rigging some assets for them. They were under the impression their rigging would be through Sam. You can see their story here, which we will look at after this. Ray says, on May 23rd will be the next model you work on. You're going to have tons of fun with it. So this is Blair. So here again, Raph was trying to get communication with Ray, and then Ray just has excuse after excuse. And then September 22nd, Ray says, Sam most likely won't be able to do it because of the overcutting. He was originally their first choice, but he doesn't do any animations well. I'm pretty sure we've spoken about it. He said he had to take a look and that we could meet to try, but he slept through the meeting. Cos knew I was rigging his model, but the talent wanted someone else. But despite that, he kept telling me I was gonna be the rigger. When I got into a call, I was told by Ray that I was in fact not gonna be the rigger for the model in the end, and he claimed that Cos was only interested in working with Japanese riggers, so it didn't matter to him what the quality was. This, of course, was revealed to be a lie by Cos. And this is Ray sending, hey, just finished catching up to stuff, haha, so how interested are you rigging a dragon man? So here is Cos stating that they love Felucha's rigging, but that they were going to debut with Rafu's rigging, and they were willing to pay for the re-rig out of their own pocket. And Ray says, oh, we can cover Felucha. And Cos says, oh no, I knew you were rigging me, but the main issue I had was him claiming that I only work with Japanese rigger despite the quality. And Cos says, on the line about prestigious artist and rigger, although I like your rigs, I will admit you weren't my first choice. Felucha was a hollow life rigger, so I wanted a Niji Sanji mama with a hollow mama, and that's what I primarily meant. And then here again, December 15, 2023, Cos is asking for QWERTY over Rafu. And then Ray says, I got some venting about him, what's up? And then they're kind of talking about a rigger, and Ray says, Rafu will be the main rigger. He rigged most of Instinct, including the examples I showed you. I have faith in him to deliver quality. Yana didn't even know I existed, despite trying to help animate their starting soon screen and also providing model fixes before their debut. The last screenshot was provided by the talent in their internal server, who all knew me and were so baffled. Here's Rafu communicating with Ray, indicating the art isn't properly cut, and then drawing how he wants it cut. And here's Yana saying, OMG, yes, who's Rafu? Ray's second outfit never happened. happened. So this is the second outfit, and then Apollo's second outfit that never happened. Ray gave many excuses for communication delays or not sending payment. If you are commissioned by him and ghosted for the following reasons, feel free to cross-reference if these dates or excuses are similar. November 26th, hospital stay. December 12th, sick. December 17th, COVID. This is 2023, by the way. January 24th, tough week. Wow, this is crazy seeing it laid out. February 2nd, 2 people passed away. April 4th, busy. August 10th, Vshojo accountant. August 19th, Vshojo accountant. More from Mukia. All of these excuses. Gallbladder removal on April 26th. Being sick September 22nd. And I feel like with all the docs that we've read through, everybody's like exposés and their experiences, it's just excuse after excuse after excuse. Other creators, artists, riggers, and agencies slandered or lied about being close with, ghosted by, and more rumors. Ray shared many rumors about people to me and call while I would be showing him model updates. Unfortunately, I do not remember exactly what he said about everyone because of the sheer number of people shared, but most he would say were about ghosting, being horrible to work with, or alternatively glazing the creator and claiming to be friends. If you see yourself or someone you know in the list below, it's safe to assume he was sharing rumors, whether it was making fun of them, talking negatively, or claiming to have connections and promising work with them for one of the talents. Everyone listed below is who he brought to my attention to gossip about. So we see screenshots. Verdi, Epi, Aiko, Shiromichu, Kota, Kaz, Yumemi, wow, Cynical. That's a lot of people. Even more people. Oh, this is Annie Life. This is a different thing. Even more people. Why are there so many? Genuinely, why are there so many, and why are you shit talking so many people to your talent? Like, as the CEO, that is not a good look. That is not professional. That list was long. Overall, Ray's handling of communications was incredibly disrespectful. I didn't blacklist him sooner because he had previously paid me properly for other models, and after meeting the talents, I was looking forward to working with more Virtuix and their next wave. With the truth exposed, I assure you, I do not believe any of the rumors he spread about so many other creators, agencies, artists, and fellow riggers. I hope with everyone coming forward, we can all have closure and fix the misunderstandings Ray caused. Thank you for taking the time to look through this doc. Oh my god, and a complete side note, I've been like recording for so long, the sun is literally coming up now. I think I started at like 2:30. So here we have Redacted's experience, which was linked in Rafu's doc. Pressured into 2D model rather than 3D, which is what I really wanted. So Redacted says, also had one question. I figured that most people are probably going for a 2D model, but would going for a 3D model also be fine? And Ray prefers live 2D because they say that 2D looks better for collabs and it's easier to get assets for. Then here's a list of everything Redacted asked for in the beginning, which Ray agreed to. Custom OBS transition, overlays, just chatting, mostly full screen, semi-full screen with chat, art stream overlay, starting soon, ending screen, BRB, banner, panels, new and better microphone, Stream Deck Plus. And then not necessary, trailer and teaser, custom alert sounds, theme songs. Things needed, wanted, I can do myself. Model art rigging, emotes, mascot model alert. Art. Pressured into going with a rigger, then doing my own rigging so that everyone's models were consistent. Other people got rigged by other riggers in the end, making this decision and reasoning pointless. I said I was fine with it since at the time the reasoning made sense. And Ray is citing, oh, getting the model rigged by an in-house rigger who reduced the prices for us. List of artists he was working with that he gave me. Once again, we have excuses. He was sick November 19th. And then here's some notes about the contract. Again, this is the same copy pasta that was sent to Vixie and everybody else. And then mentions of entering chats with artists, also mentioning working with a different rigger. So yeah, here is Ray stating, oh, if we work with Rafu, then it would be cheaper, the price would be lower. And then Redacted and Redacted getting fired. We were told we would get screenshots of what was said, and we never received that. This started a lot of initial fear of people getting fired for shit talking and caused a lot of distrust in fellow talents and caused fear of speaking our own opinions. I believe this is probably referring to Kaz and Soma. Yep, this is the screenshot that is referring to Kaz and Soma. Ray asked me to go into call after, asking me to remove a message from the Discord since it was hurting company morale, despite being all very true and valid points. In this message, I complained about how there wasn't timely communication and how it was unfair that some people knew about who the partnership was with while others weren't aware. We kept being teased about this partnership with no proof about who it would be with. I removed my message in the server after this. This is when he also verbally told me about Vshojo the first time. And Ray on June 17th, 2024 says, can we call so I can inform you about some things and also give you reasoning on why Instinct is informed? And then the announcement, new CMO, partnership with agency, SciGet budget. And then the message being deleted in the Discord. Mentioning he would try to get me a partnership with Mabi Nogi. And then, Redacted is mentioning interest in it. And Ray says, oh yeah, for sure. I can try to see if I can get you in for partner streams pre-debut. Asking for a commission, never got back to me about it. So Ray says, hey, would you want to make art for Redacted's first single? And our Redacted VTuber says, hell yeah, give me the deets. And then Ray says, got a call with her later, so I'll get the deets, but we love the style you did for the last comp, so it'll be perfect. And then really wanted to get me to do a metal themed logo despite it not being my theme. Sent some heavy metal logo examples. Said he would get me a new CPU. And Redacted is complaining that Discord is being really janky. And then they're hopping in a server meeting room to kind of discuss. And then Ray says, oh, that's a good processor. Perfect. Just the GPU then. Another commission that he wanted and never followed up on. So here wanted a commission of a VTuber drawn upside down like clove into water. Estimated debut date for July 19 to 20. So Redacted is asking about the Spark debut, thinking about traveling for a month. I wanted to make sure that it didn't overlap. And Ray wanted to check the timelines. And then they got back a day later stating it would be around July 19 to 20th. And then another commission that wasn't followed up on. Ray was asking how much was the comp for Kuzi, and then Redacted says I did it for 100. And then Ray says, let me get some references so you can give me a solid price and let me know if you're comfortable doing on it. And there's no rush. More comps he wanted and never followed up on. Asked if I wanted to be a partnered artist, which I agreed to. So adding songs again, I'm guessing this is maybe like Ray's song. I don't know, right? And then Ray says, hey, so do you want to be a partnered artist? We cover 100% of approved project talents take with you. Could help with getting you more comms from everyone. And asking for gamer sub panels. Promising art from European, so I rushed to get my reference art done for him. Also asked for references from him again and receiving nothing. Again, not to the fault of European though. And again, Redacted is asking for ref sheets and stuff for the commissions for the album covers. Caused me to lose out on commission money by saying I was partnered and that commissions for others would be paid by the company. I could have gotten these comms, but I held off since he wanted to pay for them. And then here Redacted is asking for more clarity about the gamer sub panels, anything extra they would need to sign for the partnered artist status, stuff like that. And Ray says, let me look at the budgets. We'll let you know soon. And then more commission examples. Ray sent an art piece that we can't see or something and stated, I might end up needing around 12 of these, 6 minimum. And Redacted says, I would be so happy to do them. And Ray says, I'll send details when I get home. And then hinting about the Vshojo partnership, this was June 23rd, 2024. Now, this is June 24 again, and Redacted is, mentioning some artists they really like. And Ray is saying that they've heard good things. So they're just kind of talking. And Redacted said, hey, Ray, I just want to give you a little heads up that Spark people had a little meeting together to talk about things. And I think the others are rather anxious of things as of late. So trying to, get some concerns, mentioning that they were worrying about the deadline, about whether artists could meet the deadlines, and that they would be okay if the debut would be pushed back for a better quality debut. And on June 27th, my birthday, Ray says, I want to have a meeting with Spark soon, kind of blaming the lack of communication on partnerships and lawyers, and was talking about like resigning from work. Again, it's just so much like excuses and personal life interjections when that's not what the other person asked for. Again, yeah, so Ray claimed that he resigned from his job, tried to ask about rigging. Ray went on to complain and not send the links that he said he would send. So Ray says, doesn't help that Redacted and Redacted are running around telling a bunch of people I'm slandering them when I'm literally not. I've lost connections with people because of it. And then, yeah, I have some suggestions for riggers. And then Ray is just continuously venting. And then also on June 27th is the first mention of Gun Run here. And then Ray sent that Vshojo graphic. Redacted is super excited. 2 years of plans that never came to fruition. Mentioned our partner once again, Vshojo. Also mentioned that he was going to be on Iron Mouse's talk show. Cyberpunk Red crossover event, fighting game invitational, music festival event, manga release, VTuber Fashion Week event, Miku Fest Sakura Festival event, bank robbery event, indie VTuber concert, deserted island and vacation event, arcade event. Also Sparks watch-alongs might be a little big. Mentioned Sam as a rigger, which I agreed to. Also mentioned rigging for Redacted. So yeah, Ray sent 2 examples, I guess, and then one being Sam. Also Sam is closed but willing to open slot for me. Redacted says, yes, Sam, I really love their rigging. Wow. Saying that the rig will be around 1300 and later turned out to be around 3000. He also disappeared for a bit around this time. The last message was when we had a meeting again. So Redacted is asking how much is the rig. I remember the budget initially being 1700 in the contract. Ray says, I believe he's 1300 starting for full body and V-Bridger, but I'll expand your budget as needed. And then here Redacted is just trying to get in contact with Ray, and Ray just has a bunch of excuses. Ray never got back to me with references for these panels, referring to the gamer sub panels. Also asking for Ray to tell me what I need to do with my model for rigging to be done with Sam. And Ray says, yep, getting suggestions now. So far he said it's cut a lot, which isn't bad, but he's sending some things that should be merged just so it's easier for rigging. Asking Ray for debut dates so that I could plan a trip. There was a cheap flight that I wanted that I wasn't able to get because he took so long to get back to me. Oh man, that sucks. So again, September 9th, Redacted is asking for the approximate debut dates. They're talking about a trip. And Ray says, let's have a meeting later this week to discuss and pick a date together. Oh my god, and Redacted is saying that they're willing to put their vacation plans on hold for Virtuix. Asking questions about rigging that I never got answered. Asking about a group chat that I never got. Said he would get things done before going on vacation. And then September 15th, oh my god, Redacted is asking for a group chat between the 3 of them for better communication. Ray was like, yeah, I was gonna do that prior to heading out on vacation. Then a day later, also, when do you think you can fit in the meeting to discuss dates? Remember? Because that was like 7 days ago for discussing dates so that Redacted could plan their vacation. And Ray is like, oh, I'm a little busy before I leave, blah, 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 blah. Since I'll have my laptop and internet for a meeting. Said we would get in a call to sort things out. We didn't sort things out in a call. Also mentioned I could do my own rigging since Sam's was expensive. But Ray kept pushing for the fancy rigging. I only agreed because of the promise of working with Vshojo. I didn't want to look cheap in comparison. So Ray is just stating that they're talking about pricing and it's a little more than they thought. And here Redacted is offering to do their own rigging to save company money. And then here Redacted offered to go with a more basic rig, and Ray is like, honestly, since we saved on art, I'm happy to splurge. This model can look sick with good rigging. Plus, honestly, you're a talent worth investing in. Request of another commission he never followed up on, or a Sonic cover. Implied debut would be after I got back from my trip. Things were not prepared for debut by the time I got back. Again. And here Redacted is talking about the fact that they found a cheap flight and they'll be back by a certain date. And Ray was like, yep. That's good for sure. It will give us time to prep. Things that I had to do, and Ray said he was going to get for me. 12 emote refs. Ray says ref for background, aesthetic refs for overlays, 27-inch monitor, 4070, an i7 processor. Wait, but I thought the processor was fine. Redacted says, oh, Ray, I needed help with Starforge about the Starforge PCs. I'm guessing they're going to get a free PC. And Ray says, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm going to hit up my accountant. Then we have asking about a meeting with Sam again for rigging. And Redacted is just bumping about Sam. And Ray says, it's back now. Something about their water damage in their home. So again, now it's October 18th. Redacted is still asking for info about Sam, the rig, money, and costs for other things about the teaser and debut. Now we're in November 9th. Redacted is asking again for the intended debut date. And Ray is now stating the week after Saga, so like the 14th, saying that Redacted was going to make and be her model, the mascot model. Says he would get the refs from me again, which he did not. The gamer sub ref for that commission that he keeps talking about. Notes from a call for things to get him. I supplied him links and he never responded. And look, stinger found the simple stinger in a chat box. It looks customizable. Some links. Asked for $500 for the teaser. He said he would pay for. Redacted says also for the teaser, I was thinking maybe 500. Also Redacted, I made it longer since I don't know how much you want sticking out. And Ray says, bless, sounds good. Called me to ask about another comm. He wanted a redesign of his own design. This is the only thing he actually sent me all the info for and all the references for. Wow, that is so selfish. You're capable of doing the work if it comes to your stuff, but not for anyone else. Was supposed to have a meeting with Sam, which didn't end up happening because Sam was supposedly asleep and also supposedly set the time. Warrior says, I want to say he's still asleep. Ray says he picked the time too. Let me see if I can reschedule unless he wakes up. Provided the Ray scene that he requested so he could use it for a New Year teaser. Note to get the Ray scene done and then sent the Photoshop file showing other people's art. I had 3 screenshots here as proof. However, they have been removed as I don't want to spoil anyone's design plans for the future. New discoveries. Ray had never even contacted Sam in the first place. Ray supposedly packed up his PC and claimed he went to a psychiatric facility. His roommate confirmed that he took the PC, and it was also later discovered that he was playing Marvel Rivals 2 days after disappearing. The psych facility story is possible, but I personally have my doubts due to old lies and excuses. Even if they were true, doesn't excuse the rest of his behavior. When trying to commission a redesign of his model, he also tried to convince a fellow artist friend of mine to do the same, telling us if you get any ideas before we get around to it, just send them my way. I do not mind him commissioning multiple artists, but I believe he was trying to get free art out of the both of us, considering he never paid my friend and owes them a substantial amount of money. The company turned out to not even be a real company and was just a legal business in Quebec. Told lies about his roommate, our other boss, in order to get us to dislike him. Insisted that he didn't pay rent and was getting paid to do nothing, when in reality he A, wasn't signed with the company to begin with, and B, didn't receive a cent of payment. Told lies about other talent that were fired in order to get us to dislike them, and threatened NDA repercussions were we to reach out to those who were fired to verify the validity of firing reasons. Revealing info about the company and people's projects to people outside of the agency who had no reason to know these things, claiming to personally know many high-profile creators when in reality he did not. Then we have Kuzi writing, hey folks, I'm aware of what's happening with Virtuix right now, but I'm traveling for work and haven't had the time to write a response yet. As a public-facing staff member of Virtuix, I felt the need to at least say something until I can write my own. Kuzi put out this doc writing, I'm sorry it took so long. I got home this morning and needed to make sure I took time to write something. Given everyone else's statements, I wanted to share my Virtuix experience too, especially regarding the unique situation I'm in. It reads, hey there, it's Kuzi. Like many others from Virtuix, I just wanted to share my side of the story. I'm sorry if this is a little all over the place, and it may differ from other documents shared on the situation due to 2 big factors. 1. I was and currently still am Ray's roommate. 2. I was appointed COO in name only of Virtuix despite never signing a contract NDA or receiving payments. Before I get into details, I'm sorry it took longer than most to get something more detailed out there. I just got back from a business trip and had to see everything unfold from my phone. I'm glad to see the overwhelming support received towards other staff members and talents of Virtuix. This document might also be all over the place as I'm really not great at getting my thoughts across, especially in times of conflict. So if there are any missing bits, I apologize. One last thing to note is there may not be many direct DMs between myself and Ray shared here. As a factor of us living together, we would often talk about everything as opposed to speaking over DMs. Meeting Ray. I first met Ray in early 2023. I was in the process of moving to Canada from the UK, and during that time we got to talking. We eventually agreed that I could rent a room in his house. In the first few weeks of us living together, he would mention that he had plans to launch a VTuber agency with the first wave Instinct already chosen. I was interested in the idea and said if he ever needed any extra help, that I could help in any way I could. Before Instinct's talents debuted, Virtuix was officially made public in October of 2023, and there was a lot of interest. We would quickly write up a few Q&A posts as well as sharing our revenue split info, as it was something agencies at the time would do. Eventually, we put out a social post asking potential indie talents to send in their content. We didn't want to do auditions, and we wanted to scout based on authenticity. Before long, we had 400 plus applicants to Virtuix, and we would stay up late replying to the emails and making notes of creators we thought would fit for our future waves. Emailing talent for interviews. Ray mentioned he had the first 3 waves laid out at the time, so I eventually reached out to many of the talents whose stories you've heard from already. Unfortunately, at this time, my access to said email has been revoked. However, here's a screenshot from a talent receiving a response. So that is the email that's sent. Once we sent all of our potential talents an email, I did also have to try to send a generic response to any other creators we decided not to proceed with at the time, as well as try to answer any questions coming in. I then reached out to each of the potential talents and arranged an interview with them. I was part of everyone's interview process with the exception of 2 staff members later on. These interviews went well and got me excited about the future of Virtuix. Everyone seemed on board with the promises being made, and a lot of the talents were asking great questions. With our 3 waves locked, we started to prepare everything to get started. I'd like to clarify, I never had access to finances or any involvement in the commissioning process. That was all Ray, and sadly, if you've seen the documents from other talents, you know why. It would get to the point where Ray would stop responding to talents and they would reach out to me for progress. Unfortunately, the only way I could help was to ask Ray, and so I did, and I would always get a response that I would pass on to any talents. These responses I gave would always fall through, and I would sometimes be asked for additional updates on situations I said would happen but never came to light. Instinct debuts. Instinct ended up debuting in May of 2024. Everyone is excited and preparing for debuts. I had a stream planned for that day. In hindsight, I should have pushed it, but I thought I could start the stream early and then be done by the time the debut kicks off. Around 30 minutes into my stream, Ray knocked on my door to tell me to stop streaming and that he needs me to help coordinate the Instinct debut as he had a family emergency. Initially, I was annoyed by this because the debuts were still hours away, and he told me that I needed to help one of our talents set up for their debut in person, as this was the first time they streamed as a VTuber. I wasn't annoyed for long and managed to coordinate the debut just fine. I was sitting behind one of our newly debuted talents during their debut. Ray did not return home until the next day. I'd also like to thank our watch-along partners for helping with these debuts. Unfortunately, it would take 3+ months for 2 of them to receive payment, and to my knowledge, one of them never received any, which all I can do is apologize. This personally stung because 2 of the watch-along members I consider friends, and I brought them into that situation. Wave 2. Spark. Wave 2 titled Spark was one of the waves at Virtuix that never ended up launching. As this was the first wave outside of people that Ray knew before, more and more questions started coming out regarding processes of models and updates on overlays and other debut assets. Once again, I did not have access to any payments or group chats with any artists or commissions, aside from one exception in Wave 3. We hired another manager to take on Spark, and naturally they began to start asking questions regarding how long it was taking to launch the wave or get progress on assets. I tried my best to respond to them where I could, but ultimately my words could only do so much. Eventually, 3 talents and said manager were dropped from the company for various reasons. At the time, I was fully in support of Ray's actions and trusted his judgment, and I apologized to anyone in Spark if I mistreated or spoke illy about you due to the lies I was being told. The rest of Spark would later be converted to our 2 remaining waves. 2 would go to Instinct, 1 would go to Saga. Around this time, Ray made promises that Virtuix was going to be partnering with Vshojo. I never personally batted an eye to this because since the beginning, he mentioned being in a group chat with multiple CEOs of other VTuber agencies and that they would provide advice for him on how to handle different challenges he was facing. As the months went on, no movement would be made on this promise. He kept telling me he would create a group chat with myself, him, and Gunrun, Vshojo CEO, and that he would be inviting Gunrun to the internal Virtuix Discord. Nothing ever came from these promises, and rightfully so. A number of talent and staff would challenge Ray on updates, but would hear nothing in return. Wave 3 Saga. This is where things personally got more vague and obscure for me. I was aware of the talents in Saga, and once we finished interviewing and onboarding their manager, I would find myself in less and less meetings with Ray and the staff. He would later chalk this up to me not caring or being missing from important parts of business. At this point, I could also tell that he was stressed. I asked multiple times for him to delegate to me and Saga's manager, and that we were here to help. That we could also help handle the finances and get caught up on everything, but nothing ever came to light. There would be countless times where Saga's manager would reach out to me and ask for updates or ask me to poke Ray to respond to something. This happened so frequently to the point where Ray would get frustrated at me for asking for updates or letting him know somebody needed a response. At this point, our socials were also a little scarce. It was my main responsibility to manage them, and I'll admit I dropped the ball on them sometimes, although I had no legal or monetary obligation to run them. I would also put out a couple of announcements in the internal Discord asking talents if they had anything they wanted us to support on socials to let me know directly. Both times I received no response from any of them. A few weeks before Saga's debuts, Ray told me that he needed to fly to San Francisco to work at the Vshojo's office. Once again, due to constant talk of an upcoming partnership, I didn't think anything of this. He told me he'll be leaving on November 4th and be back December 10th. He even showed me the Airbnb he would be staying at. He packed up his PC as well and mentioned he needed it to do work there. I suggested he just take his laptop and monitor as it's easier to transport, but he ended up taking his whole setup. To this day, I'm unsure where he ended up staying for that month. During this time, we would continue to communicate via phone calls. He would just say he stepped out of a meeting room or needed to go out to lunch with some Vshojo folks. He had asked me to handle some video things and audio editing on some of the Saga teasers for socials. At this point, he was posting things to the socials accounts himself and would send me things that needed to be edited or fixed. Ray would later tell me that he's on his way back from San Francisco early, November 22nd, and that he'll be staying at his mom's until December 3rd. Saga eventually debuted, but was planned to be in 2 parts because even by the debut date, most of the wave's assets had not been complete or paid for. We got more watch-along partners who, once again, I learned never received payment, and the debut went well in my opinion. My 2.0 situation, lying about securing my artist. I was originally supposed to launch my 2.0 within Virtuix. I like the idea we had for the space theme wave that we had titled Mirage. I have a very specific art style that I'm targeting for my 2.0, and the artist I really wanted to approach to do my model was Basil Wolf. I initially tried to reach out to him on my own as I knew he didn't typically offer model comms, but I wanted to shoot my shot. I reached out on Twitter, but I don't think he ever saw the DM, which was totally fine. Basil also does not have an email that I could find to approach him, but Ray mentioned that he knew somebody who had a connection to him and asked them to reach out. I was also aware that Basil was prepping for a big move, so I wasn't expecting a response right away, but wanted to give him as much notice as possible. I wanted to re-debut spring 2025. Eventually, Ray mentioned that the person he reached out to got a response from him and asked me to send him a list of toggles expressions for the model for a quote. I was over the moon, excited that I got a response, but still weary since it wasn't a surefire bet just yet. Eventually, there was no response, but once again, I thought this was just because he was super busy. When Ray was in San Francisco, he called me to update on a bunch of Virtuix stuff, how he normally would, and one of those updates was that Basil had finally added him on Discord. Once again, this was extremely exciting news to me, and it started to set in that I secured my dream artist. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. The truth is that Ray's contact did reach out to Basil, but he never responded. After all this info came out, I checked Basil's profile from his server, and Ray was not listed under the mutual friends tab. Ray led me on for weeks about this, and I was devastated to find out that it will unlikely happen at this point. Undisclosed meeting. On December 4th, Saga's manager reached out and asked if I could contact Ray within the next 4 hours for emergency meeting with them and Instinct's manager. I of course said I can ask him, but I did find it strange I was not part of this meeting, not to the fault of other managers. I later found out that Ray had asked them both to take charge of taking care of Virtuix while he stepped back and focused on himself. The managers later posted a lot of info regarding stuff like chain of command and expectations, and that Ray had made them partners in the business. We briefly talked about this, but he promised that Virtuix will be the 4 of us making decisions, and to see my name nowhere on this new chain of command was a surprise considering all that I've worked on up to this point. On Friday, December 6th, I received a call from Ray letting me know that he'll be unreachable until Monday, December 9th, and that he was focusing on his mental health. I fully believed him and asked if there was anything I can do to help. He just told me to let the Saga manager know the situation, but not Instinct's manager. So I did just that. Discovering the truth. I later come to find out that Ray had been slandering my name the entire time I've worked alongside him at Virtuix. I heard from roughly 10 talents and staff members that they hated my guts because of the lies that Ray was feeding them. He would vent his frustrations about stuff even outside of VTubing. He antagonized me against a whole group of people who I was constantly wanting to push forward and help. He mentioned how I was a terrible roommate who didn't pay rent for months, as well as do nothing for the business despite him not paying me or even having a contract. He would tell talents, Kuzi does nothing. I don't even know what I'm paying him for. This caused the entire company to hate me me and treat me like a villain. This is also the reason why talents would not send me anything to promote for socials when I asked. I felt terrible because I would be talking to each and every one of them and treated them with kindness all at the same time. They hated me for how I was portrayed by Ray. I do not hold a grudge against any talent or staff about the person I was told to be. With the amount of statements coming out over the past couple of days, it's astonishing the amount that I'm discovering about Ray. So much that I was dreading returning home as I feared for the safety of my housing situation, which was further reinforced by a message to a manager received this month. This was sent by Ray on December 6th, writing fair. Well, we'll see what I can do, but making somebody homeless ain't exactly a stress-free thing. I'm heading home and I'll figure out how to deal with things when I get there. Conclusion. Thank you if you managed to read this whole thing. I'm sorry to all the talents, managers, staff, and artists who were affected by Ray's actions. I'm currently still in the same living arrangement right now, but will be planning on getting some funds together to secure a deposit on a new place as soon as I can. Unfortunately, the actions that Ray took against me and everyone else are inexcusable, and I no longer feel safe in my living situation to not do anything about it. If you haven't already, please go and read some of the other statements that have been released. Thanks to all my friends, my girlfriend, and people who have been supportive and in contact since everything went down. So then we have two other creators that are also linked in this as well. So the first creator is by the name of Maya, or Ichika Maya. I hope I'm reading that right. So Maya did not put out a statement, but Maya went live, and it was between her VOD, between 33 minutes and around 42 minutes into her VOD. I'll just give you like a TLDR. But Maya was contacted to do a watch party, and they stated that it was a last minute sponsor and they took a gamble because they knew they weren't going to get paid, and they did not get paid yet. That they didn't feel as bad because they only lost their time compared to what a lot of other people have lost. And they felt like it was a red flag because the CEO came into their Twitch stream, into their chat, which is already odd because you typically don't see like CEOs fraternizing in like streamers' chats typically. And then the Ray was like, Aqua is my Oshi. I'm so glad they are in my company. And Maya felt it was weird because they felt like it showed bias, but Maya kept quiet because they were getting paid for the stream, so they felt like they couldn't really say anything. And because of the situation, they did not get paid the $500 they should have gotten paid for the watch party. And then secondly is Ashton Martin, another VTuber who is also doing a watch party or a watch along. And they write, I'd appreciate if you listen to Maya on her stream about VirtuX. Please refer to my latest retweet. You may have seen through my past day X VirtuX talents announcing their departure from the company under unfortunate circumstances regarding non-payment, and unfortunately I was also involved with this company recently. While I did not suffer nearly to the degree the talents who've been strung along have, I unfortunately did get duped as well. VTubers and creatives both have been tricked out of time, money, and work, and it sucks. And Ashton continues, thinking back on the VirtuX situation is upsetting again. While I wasn't a talent, the money I was due for the work I did was going to go towards my model. Future talents were promised grandeur and saw nothing after a year of hard work. It's evil of people to toy with your dreams. And that 5 hours of recording is what I have compiled to be everybody's statements. If I have missed a statement, please let me know down below in the comment section. I spent a really long time trying to like grab them all together, but one might have slipped by. I am so sorry to everybody that is involved, the VTubers, the fans, the artists, the creatives, the editors, the managers, everybody that was involved and was manipulated under Ray. And I really want to emphasize, once again, it is not the VTuber's fault. It's not the creative's fault, whatever. These people that are manipulative are so good. I don't want to say good, right? I don't want to like praise them for this, but they are built upon spinning webs of lies and getting people to fall for this, right? The amount of lies that Ray had spun is insane. And it is crazy that it went on for so long, that they were just like spinning lie after lie after lie, excuse after excuse after excuse. And the thing is, at the end of the day, and I really want to emphasize, the thing is, these types of people, these types of scammers like Ray, they hurt kind people. It is always the kindest people that are always willing to give second chances to try to see the best in people that get taken advantage of by scummy, fucked up people like Ray. Ray has not taken any accountability. They have completely wiped their pages and just pissed off the internet. And so many people are owed money and owed things from this person, and it is not okay at all. They need to come and own up to what they did and right the wrongs that they have done. And no matter how good your intentions were to start this VTuber company, blah, 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 what ended up happening is you owe thousands of dollars to people. There are so many talented and promising VTubers that were extremely excited for a debut that did not get their debut because you strung them along for so long. And if they just didn't work with you, they would have debuted a long time ago because they didn't have you holding things up. And for the VTubers that did debut, having their names slandered and dragged through the mud, having the CEO of the company shit talk you to other people for literally like no reason, making lies, everything. It's absolutely insane. And the amount of like lies about Vshojo promises, anime expo raves that he's spinning, it's insane. I feel so sorry for everybody involved. I'll have like all of the documents linked down below so you guys can go check them out as well. Please show support to all of these individual creators that are affected by this person, because it is so many people. So many. But it is 7:20 a.m. now, so I'm gonna go to sleep. I did not expect this recording to take that long. So if you like this video, I appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Smash that like button so that my editor and I can know it's good. I also stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST, so I hope to catch you guys there or in another video. I'm going to sleep. Bye-bye.